Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison, and this is Maintaining Frame number 67. We're basically continuing the video from yesterday. Shoe0nHead realizes the left's man problem.
I think that needs an extra verb somewhere. Shoe0nHead calls out.
I guess. Man. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know. She's just sort of reacting like, "Oh, that's bad." Or, you know, but not, I don't know. I don't know what her suggestions are. I forget if she even made suggestions for, like, what to do, but
we'll find out.
I guess we will. We will find out. So, again, Lindsay is home today, so JoJo is not here, so no JoJo Cam. I'm sorry, guys. I guess we're just not going to get as many donations.
So, we did not too bad last time.
No, no. Actually, I will say this. I don't know if it's because of the subject matter, because we were responding to Shoe, and look, I just got out of a meeting with XY Crew. So I go to XY Crew meeting. It's something that Paul Elam set up. If you want to check it out, go look up XY Crew on a Subscribe Star, and you basically, there's meetings. You can meet with Paul and Janice Fiamengo and others. It's just Zoom meetings, right? And I was just talking to the guys in there, and I asked them if they saw Shoe0nHead's video, because I told them I had to leave to talk about it. And they were immediately going on a kind of like, I thought it was really good. Like, Shoe, I don't have any, I think she's okay, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, guys, I'm not attacking her. Like, I didn't even start to do that. I was like, I think that people just think that because we're responding to something, we're going to be attacking whoever it is, right? I remember, well, I think that, you see the title, and I think people think, oh, we're going to start a fight. We're not looking for drama. Never were looking for drama, okay? But, like, I think this, because I remember this other thing. Do you remember when we had Greg Ellis on our show? Greg Ellis is the actor who was friends with Johnny Depp, worked with him on Pirates of the Caribbean. And
I remember his name, and I'm not sure if
you were there. You talked to him, too. Yeah, you and I both talked to him. And he thought he was a bit on the defensive at first, because he thought we were like gonna come after him because we responded to something else that he was on prior to that. And I mean, I think we can be critical, but I didn't have anything against Greg Ellis. I was happy that he was talking about this stuff, And I feel the same way about Shoe. It's not, I'm not mad at her at all. I never said anything. But for some reason, yeah, there were people coming after her. So guys,
there's a few things.
No issue. No issue.
Yeah, there's all right. Sometimes when we're dealing with feminists, the sheer amount of smug fuckery coming off of them makes you a little piquant in your language, shall we say?
Yeah.
I'm very vulnerable to smug cunt.
Smugness is yeah. It's like lemon juice on a wound, on a paper cut. It's like not fun. But I think mostly, though, because there was a little bit of caping for Shoe, but I think mostly it was directed at the chat. Because people in the chat, and people were sending us super chows yesterday, which totally appreciate. It was really great. They were pretty critical. But I mean, so what? You have a right to be critical.
Yeah, but also, I don't recall them being critical in a way that isn't appropriate.
Right. No, I agree. I think that people were just like, if you
put your ideas out there, you should expect them to be critiqued, not just accepted.
Or yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, and the other thing was someone mentioned the altercation that I got into with Shoe0nHead about Memorial Day.
Oh, Memorial Day. We didn't even bring that up.
No point. But I'll bring it up now since someone else did. What happened was I was making a point that when we stopped recognizing the unique sacrifices that men make to society, we are going to lose the benefit of those sacrifices. And I think that we're sort of seeing that play out right now in a big way. I think a lot of people in 2020, if they maybe were pushing back on what I'm saying in 2019, I don't think they are as much anymore. Because you cannot defend the influence of masculinity on society without recognizing the sacrifices made by men. And if you don't defend the influence of masculinity on society, you lose the benefit of the virtues of the masculine. And I think that's what we're really seeing. We're seeing a society that's ruled more by fear. And men have a higher tolerance for fear. Therefore, a society that has more of their influence in it won't be as controlled by fear. and it won't be as controlling because of fear. So, I mean, that was what I meant. If you don't recognize the unique sacrifices of men, in particular in war, because this is where it really comes out, then you will lose your society. You're just it's gonna end up deteriorating. And that was the point I was making. She misunderstood it as me attacking, I think, Tulsi Gabbard, maybe? No, is that the right one?
That's weird. Tulsi Gabbard is the from Hawaii, and she is a veteran and a Democrat, but
or something like it was. I pointed out that a whole bunch of people were thanking the women and men without recognizing the uniquely male.
And we're not talking about Veterans Day. We're talking about Memorial Day. It's an important distinction. Yeah.
Okay, so and I just tweeted out, yeah, this person hasn't recognized that this is like what 99% male. This person hasn't recognized it. This person, and I just so happened to hit, I guess, a left icon, and she was like, yeah, she says a lot of stupid things, but thanking the veterans. Yeah, it was the veterans on Memorial Day. And I'm like, no, but that wasn't what it had nothing to do with right or left, because I was pointing that out, that the right and the left both do it. And then her fans sort of descended on the tweet. And at some point she realized what I had been saying, because Karen spoke to her. Not like through Twitter. And at that point it's like, what can you do? I mean,
yeah,
you have to realize that when you got a big platform, you will have a bunch of, okay, I'm gonna say simps, who will be like your flying monkeys, even if you don't want them to be.
Yeah, right.
You know, so even if she's like, yeah, oh wait, you're right, I made the mistake. Yeah, that's not what you meant. It's almost impossible to stop at that point. So it's like, and I don't even hold it against her. She made a mistake. Unfortunately, in the position that she's in, that means she has a lot of flying monkeys.
Yeah, but, well, she is. Yeah, she's very popular. I mean, people like came from all over to see her when we were at VidCon. So, but I mean, sometimes you just kind of blow up overnight. I mean, she's still popular. It's cool. Like I said, I don't have anything against her, and I completely forgot about that Veterans Day thing. I probably would have. I mean, Memorial Day thing. But I mean, it is what it is. But that was. I think that at the end of the day, what I'm trying to get at is, despite that, I think what happened was we got more traffic because there were a larger number of people watching that are normally would normally have been watching. And that's good because they were all talking to each other, exchanging ideas, maybe getting into arguments, but that's okay. And our comment section was pretty lit, and I'm glad about that. So, I mean, and we got a lot of super chows and super chats and stuff. So to me, that's a win-win insofar as it's gotten people talking, and that's all I want. That's all I want to see is people talking, even if they're arguing, because it can only be seen as good. And before we get started, though, I did get Allison. You want to probably talk about your books or whatever, and I got some super chows, some big ones that I think you.
Yeah, we'll do a shout out for them.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, first of all, if you would like to send us a message through the show, please do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. You will get the benefit of avoiding the YouTube censorship sieve. How's that? Okay, so
I have
avoiding.
No idea. Why are we using weird terms? Why don't we just say, like, avoid the censorship by doing this? Or, like, don't give Google your money, but occasionally give Google a little bit of money.
Yeah, okay, so you can avoid giving Google money by going to feedthebadger.com/justthetip. You can avoid running afoul of YouTube's elaborate rules around censorship. Once again, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. It's very appreciated. It also sort of gives us a more solid way of contacting anyone if it should so happen that we disappear. So feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And also I have restarted my fundraiser to help edit The Captive Eye, because there will be more stages after the one that we just finished, namely either another developmental edit or a line edit. So please, if you would like to help bring more pro-male fiction into the world, go to feedthebadger.com/I and put a few shekels in the hat. Still haven't really received anything, so anything is really appreciated. $5, $10. I may do some arm twisting more into the show if nobody's even if nobody has put anything through. So once again, that's feedthebadger.com/I. Please put something through so I don't have to arm twist. Or you don't have to endure it. Okay.
All right. Also, really quick, I might as well just give you the preview. Tomorrow, we're expecting to have a show with Teal Deer. He's brought something very interesting to our attention, something that interests him, which probably means it will be interesting to you. So that'll be tomorrow. You'll just look out for when the stream goes up. And then on Monday, I got a fireside chat with Paul Elam, and we're going to be talking about his group XY Crew, which I briefly brought up here, and how XY Crew, right here in Roanoke, Virginia, is on the SPLC hate list for male supremacy. Because of course it is.
Well,
all right.
You guys use the terms red pill and Chad.
Yes. Well, I don't think we actually say Chad in XY Crew. I don't think that's a term, but it doesn't matter because
that's the FBI watch list. For
I mean,
extremism.
of course, the word Chad.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yes, Chad. Yes to that. All right. So before we get into the video, I did get 2 super chows. Very nice, very nice. Thank you so much.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I got one from Vexerum the Vain, who gives us $256. That's pretty awesome, and says, "Congratulations, HBR. Here's to 10 more years of badgery goodness." I mean,
yeah,
I want to stick around, but I'd like to become obsolete. I think that would be that should be the goal of any activist group.
Yeah, like if we woke up in like 5 years and it was happy families for as far as the eye could see, and whatever arrangement
and
people
abundance, and people are going to outer space and whatever.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Yeah,
you know, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll see. Yes, stranger things have happened, I think.
Well, yeah, to be honest, like it has been quite the last 10 years has been quite the ride.
Yeah.
And it is the 10-year anniversary. It's either 10 years ago on a Thursday, we started the very first Honey Badger Radio episode.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Thursday in August. I think it was the 22nd. It might have been the 15th, though. I know I should know this. This should be in my head.
I don't think I was around at that time.
No, you came in like.
Yeah, I came in later when you guys were doing Google Hangouts. Remember Google Hangouts? Yeah, right.
Oh my god. Okay.
All right.
Anyway.
Okay. So.
thebadger.com/justthetip.
Yeah.
We have another.
Big fat donation.
Yeah, I should do the thank you for that. So Techna put in $400 and said, "Hello. Hope you are all doing well." He is a patron who he's actually. Hopefully this is okay to say. He's building his first small house. So
very nice.
Yes, he has like bills that have to go through, and so it's a little bit wonky, his patronage each month. So, but it's very appreciated that he took the time to put this in with a little bit extra. So thank you, Techna. And I hope that your building is going really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope to see the pictures of your wonderful new abode. Okay, and then we just got a new super chat.
Yeah, I got one from Anonymous, but somebody in the chat, Mike asked, he's the one who sent it through, and asked that you turn your sound up a little bit. So maybe if you have like volume on your microphone, or I could do it here. I can turn you up here instead. Let me do that. I'll just do it. Okay, so say something, Allison. Allison, you're muted. Hello?
I was muted.
Yes,
Hello.
I don't know why you were muted. All right, say something. Let me see.
Say something. Let me see.
All right. How does that sound better? I raised her volume up in Discord. It's probably, no, I think I did it in Discord, so I think that's okay.
Yeah, I think it's okay. Because I could also open this up. Hopefully it won't cause me to stop being available. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay, does that change anything?
Yeah, it sounds better.
I can look at this. Look at this. I think
What?
I think I've increased it on my end.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's good. Okay, all right. Well, thank you for the feedback, Anonymous.
All right. It's Mike. Mike in the chat. Yeah. All right. Let me know. Just monitor that for a bit, and if need be, we'll we'll raise Allison up some more, or ask her to get closer to the microphone or something. All right, but let's get into the video, because everything else now we're ready to get into this. So we're gonna pick up from where we left off. Shoe was starting another little segment of her video called "Pull Yourself Up by Your Ball Sacks," and yes,
I will need my. That's very clever, by the way.
Yeah.
It's both lowbrow and amusing. Could you put your...
Oh, yeah, I gotta share my screen. Yeah, I'm sorry. Hold on a second.
Otherwise, I'm gonna be listening into the void.
You're not gonna hear or see anything, and I'm just gonna have to translate. All right.
Yeah. Hopefully in semaphore.
I'm gonna do sign language, which of course you also won't be able to see.
Yeah. Well, I'll be like Helen Keller here.
Yeah.
Wiggling
All right.
around in the dark.
Let me know when you're ready, and I'll start the video.
I'm good.
All right, here we go.
It's all systemic issues and societal factors and blah 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 until it's a man and then suddenly it's pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. This problem is just a consequence of the patriarchy. Now take a wild guess about which gender created the patriarchy. Solve your own problems and leave women alone. These people rightly mock the bootstraps rhetoric until the subject is a man and then...
Yes, go ahead.
That's basically just a way of... It's just an excuse that society uses. Amazingly, a society that exists for the benefit of men at the expense of women has this really, really common excuse for why we don't have to care about men's problems. It's almost like they constructed this entire narrative about patriarchy so they didn't have to care about men's problems.
It's almost like they actually do believe that the bootstraps mentality does have some validity, but only when it applies to men.
Yeah, only when it applies to men, and if a man does successfully bootstrap himself, he's then privileged by society.
He's privileged. Yeah, obviously. It's the only way he could have pulled it off.
Exactly.
Shoe.
He has to do it all by himself, but once he does do it, it was society that did it for him. Mm-hmm. This is maddening, isn't it? And I'm not even a man. What makes this maddening to me is that I can't stand watching people be gaslighted.
Yeah.
It's just okay. Or put into catch-22s, or lied about. It's... I mean, I think it's just an aspect of my autism, perhaps. I can't stand... It's like, no, wait, stop. You're making a lie. That's not impossible. You're not allowed to do that. No. That's lies. Lies are wrong. And the rest of society, for some reason, exists on lies, but I can't even...
Yeah. I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going.
And it's bootstraps all the way down. They would never talk about any other group this way. It's wild.
Bootstraps
it's kind of like
until it works.
What's funny is that if you just encourage men and celebrated them just for what they do, or even just for who they are as men, just their being, their bootstrapping powers would probably go through the roof. It'd be over 9,000, and yet we're basically shitting all over them, and they're somehow managing to persevere anyway.
Yeah, that's what really irritating about the weak men make weak societies or whatever. That
weak men make hard times.
Yes, that one. What's really irritating is that we're shitting all over men, and they're still carrying everything. They're not just carrying society, and even the guys who never leave their mom's basement, they're carrying society's shame. They're carrying society's emotional trash bucket. And they still insist on seeing men as weak. Really? I don't see weak men. I see a group of people that is profoundly weak and cowardly, but it's not men. So it's how strong do men have to be? I mean, they're not just carrying the work that needs to get done to keep society moving. They're carrying all of the unattended emotional baggage that our society just refuses to look at and deal with.
Yeah.
As it scapegoats, it just shoves it all onto men and boys. Right? The Disney Corporation doesn't have to take responsibility for its racist wage structure. That's the white man that did it.
Yeah, that's the system.
No, seriously, that was a moment I was just looking at this and I was like, really? Is this where we're at? The Disney Corporation had a workplace seminar teaching white workers, specifically white male workers, how they were responsible for the wage gap. And I'm like, is not Disney corporate
Yeah,
responsible?
couldn't Disney just raise people's wages if they have a problem with it?
Yeah,
Or are
like
you just paying people based on what the value they bring to the company, and things are just shaking out in an uncomfortable and inconvenient way?
Yeah, but they're blaming their white
I know,
workers.
I know, but I'm saying
choices.
if those men are making more money, maybe they're better at the job. That's what I'm saying. Like, but instead they don't accept that. They have to blame. And you know, one of the it might not be Disney Corporation, because there's a problem with consulting firms that tend to be run by feminist women that go into companies and they start throwing blame at people and getting people fired and stuff. Like there was it's consulting, DEI, etc. Like all of this stuff, it's coming from women. It's coming from women.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it is. And but also, like, the overall point is that this narrative puts the blame on the worker rather than the corporation that's making the decisions. And I noticed that that's really damn convenient. I mean, you know, the communists and the socialists might want to take note of that, but they don't seem to, because I seriously wonder if that's what it's about. Eventually, we should go through Flames. We had a commentator on the first show, like his response about how he doesn't recognize this communism. He's a Russian.
Yeah, I heard.
Doesn't. Yeah, because I found it really interesting, because it's something that I mentioned as well. Okay.
Yeah, well, these people don't. Never mind. Let's just keep going.
Both sides are telling men to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, but one is like, I'll show you how, and the other is like, fuck off. And when they're not telling men to straight up fuck off, they're giving the 200 IQ answer that nobody has ever heard before. Just show your emotions, bro. And I'm not dismissing this problem, okay? I've made videos talking about this. Oh, you're crying at your grandfather's funeral? Okay, it. And studies have shown that men are scared to be vulnerable, even around the homies. And can
Yeah, I hope that she. Or what was up?
Nothing. I'm just preparing for whatever is coming next, because she said she's talked about this on her videos, and I think, I mean, toxic masculinity is like, that is the bug that gets up my ass when I hear about it. Of all of the feminist talking points, that is to me the most poisonous. So that's I'm just bracing myself, because it's a very easy thing for a woman who has a womanly way of viewing the world and a womanly way of healing and dealing with struggles and suffering, and then looking at the way men do it and saying they're not doing it right, because that's ultimately what this comes down to. And you've already made a video about how what men's way of healing is probably better. So, but anyway, let's see.
Okay. Yes, men should be able to express their emotions, or at least they should be able to express their issues. Right? That's not allowed in our society. And yes, we should call out the fact that it isn't allowed. I just wonder where she's going to go with this, because she said that the left tells men to just show their emotions.
Yeah.
I have never seen a man show his emotions without a leftist there or a feminist there to mock him for having done so.
Yep.
Like,
all right. Let's see what she says.
Show your emotions so we can have a laugh, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you blame them when the media says stupid like this, fellas?
UK builders go woke. Study finds 3/4 of tradesmen discuss their feelings with colleagues, while 2/3 shun the fried breakfasts, and nearly half say they are history buffs. That sounds like a, I don't know.
Is it woke to open up to your fellow men and discuss history? Men are socialized to believe strength.
Wait, stop here. Okay, First of all, the mask you live in. Feminist literature feminist literature on the man box. Although, interestingly, the professor, Michael Kimmel, who perpetuates created the whole concept of the man box, was not aware of evidence. Like, there were other students who attempted to replicate his findings and were unable to. I don't even know if he had findings, he just had assertions. But they attempted to make his assertions realitize, and they didn't, because they found out that men who actually adhere to traditional notions of masculinity are more likely to report opening up to their friends and being able to cry in front of their friends. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Like men who identify with less masculine traits, who are perhaps more feminist, do not feel like they can actually express their feel. And you know what? I am not surprised, because once again, whenever the people on the left and feminists are like, oh, why don't you open up, bro? How quickly after he does do they start mocking the crap out of him?
Well, I mean, we already saw when somebody not even advocating for themselves, but like for men in general, was like, well, we should probably like deal with this crisis of masculinity, and it was just a nonstop shit fest. So yeah, of course, why would men do that to themselves? And also, like, if they're not doing it with their friends, or at least the studies are saying that, how do we know? Like, what does it even mean when a third party is trying to get a record of when men express themselves to other men, when everyone's concept of how people should express themselves is based on women?
Well, yeah, that's why don't you express your feelings? Does that mean actually express men's feelings about stuff, or does it mean why don't you just become a woman, bro?
Yeah.
Like,
why don't you just act like a woman? Like, you know, I'm telling you, Allison, we got to watch Midsummer, because that movie encapsulates what I'm talking about in terms of how women emote. And when you see, I don't want to, the movie's messed up, man, but like when you see it, it makes sense. It's a little heightened and exaggerated. I'm not saying this is how women are, but it is put in a way that sort of says, like, when I watch it, I'm disturbed because I'm a man, and that's not how I express myself. It doesn't mean I don't express myself. It doesn't mean I'm a robot. But it means that the way that I do it is just different, you know? Like, I cried on the phone with my father the other day because I hadn't talked to him in a long time, and I missed him. But like, I'm not gonna do whatever it is that feminists want men to do that would be sufficient, because that's what it comes down to, right? Sufficient and satisfactory to their particular feelings about what it should look like. Like, oh, I want men to express themselves, and when they do, it's like, well, you're not really doing it, are you? You know? So
yeah, well, it's basically what we really meant was that we wanted you to express feminist sentiments.
Yeah.
You know, and not actual feelings about your situation, because we don't have no interest in your situation and how it affects you. We just want you to express feminist sentiments, and that's what we mean when we say, why don't you just emote, bro? And somehow by expressing feminist sentiments like these guys are, which is basically all other men are shit, all men are shit, then suddenly men are relieved of their need to care about their own emotions.
Yeah.
I guess, or their own feelings.
And you know, another thing too is that men don't, like, I just spoke to a guy who does who's working on, you know, he made a book, Phil, I don't know why I'm forgetting his name, but I spoke to him just on Friday, and he was saying, you know, the way men are not interested in simply expressing emotions, they want to solve problems. So again, is that also a problem? I think it is. Like, feminists are complaining, oh man, they don't want to express themselves, they just want to fix things. Well, yeah, I kind of want to get on with it.
It's almost like feminism doesn't want to fix things.
Yeah, it's almost like feminism doesn't want to fix things. Shout out to Rumble Gang, where you at? And I got another super chow, cool, from Bun for Bun for $5, and they say, I remember watching you and Karen whilst I was in university, helped me through some dark times.
Probably means my original channel, eh?
Yeah, I'm sure that it's not about me.
Well,
I'm sure it's about you and Karen.
Yeah, specify next time, because it's not necessarily.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I know that's why people watch. I mean, it's fine.
No, I'm sure
it doesn't bother
they
me.
watch.
It doesn't bother me.
Okay,
What?
somebody's asking me where you enter the message for the super chow.
Oh, I guess you should tell them.
Yeah, why is this not showing up? What the hell? Okay. What's going on here? No, I think it's the next one.
What?
No,
Are you-
I think this is Mike. He's having difficulty figuring out where to put
The
and from what
message?
yeah, from what I'm seeing, it is.
Are the
rather
fields not clearly laid out?
Yeah, and I have nothing in the description. Let me see.
Well, oh shit.
Oh wait. I think it's the next. It should be the next page. Maybe. Let me just. Okay, let's watch some more.
Okay. All right. Let's watch some more. Here we go.
History. Men are socialized to believe strength, dominance, and stoicism are behaviors of a real man. Is it any surprise that men are lonely and have less friends nowadays? You have to be vulnerable to make friends. Don't tell me there aren't systemic problems affecting men.
This is Hunter Avalone. So, an interesting story about Hunter. I went to MythCon in 2018. I think, and I went there with my wife. It was in Michigan, and I went to MythCon because a lot of people were there, and I wanted to check it out. I got to meet, Carl was there, and Blair White was there, and Theron Meyer was there. This was like before Theron kind of fell off, so think about like that timing. And they were talking about a bunch of different issues, and I ran into Hunter there because it was like a party or something, like at a hotel. There was a big get-together, and I got to meet Lauren Chen, who I interviewed on the show before. You guys might know her as Lauren Chen or Romy Millennial. Anyway, at the time, Hunter was a kind of a right-wing commentator, right? And he made these funny videos. But then he, like, hooked up with Vaush. I actually have Hunter's phone number in my phone. He started talking to Vaush, and then he, like, completely flipped. And then I realized that he didn't really have convictions to begin with. So I think it's really hilarious because, like, I think that even what he was doing before was clearly just kind of shallow, and he was like, oh, this looks like it makes, like I can get a lot of followers and subs, and he did that for a while, and then he switched, and now I think he's even bigger because it kind of tells you like what the general, his like audience likes. But this comment is ridiculous. Men are socialized. So first we have to assume that everyone is socialized into everything, and that nothing is natural or biological or evolved. To believe strength, dominance, and stoicism are the behaviors of a real man. Is it any surprise that men are lonely and have less friends nowadays? You have to be vulnerable to make friends. Well, how about this, Hunter? Here's something, okay? I was just watching a video today, and I'm sorry for all the diversions, but I gotta make this point. Jordan Peterson interviewed a woman. I'm gonna look it up on my history really quick because I don't want to get her name wrong. No, that's not it. He interviewed a woman who is, I think he's describing her. Oh yeah, it's a video called "When Should the Sexes?" Sorry, "When Should the Sexes Have Their Own Spaces?" Helen Joyce, and it was about. So Helen Joyce is a feminist, okay, but a TERF type of feminist, right? And they were talking about like women's spaces and how they want to preserve women's spaces. And Peterson's wife, Tammy, said, well, why, what happened to men's spaces? Like, what if men are going into women's spaces? Maybe it's because men don't have spaces of their own. And the woman tried to make an argument against that. She was like, well, when men make spaces of their own, it's like they're like these rich, powerful men, and they have these secret meetings, and they're kind of deciding the future of the country, and I think women should be involved in that. And of course, I thought that is the fucking stupidest thing. Like, basically, she thinks men getting together, it's the Stonecutters from The Simpsons. That's the only instance. Like, there's literally like a stonemason, like, I don't know what you call it, a lodge or whatever, right by my house, okay? That's not the problem. The problem is that men are not allowed to gather anywhere without female oversight. So, like, they can't go to a school with just men because women have to be there. They can't have boys clubs anymore because they get dismantled. I used to be in a boys club when I was a little kid. Those don't exist anymore. The YMCA is literally like the young male something, right? The Boy Scouts, nope. The girls can join that now. Men have no spaces, and when the only place that's left is like online spaces, like forums, then you get people like Laura Bates that want to break that up too. So why are men not making friends with men? Oh, I don't know, Hunter. Maybe they're not allowed to hang out with each other. Maybe they're not allowed to do anything without female oversight. Maybe they can't go to recess because they've ended recess because it makes men, I don't know, whatever, right? They're not focused on reading the Charlotte's Web for the 10th time.
Male friendships. Why are they in pieces? Yeah,
exactly. Like, and so Hunter's, it's stupid. Like, this is just stupid. You know, and I'm like,
Wrong.
I mean, I'm just like, I can't stand these arguments because you have to be vulnerable to make friends is bullshit. Like, I have friends that I've had for decades, and I've never come to them weeping and asking for friendship. Like, we just click because we share common interests, because we share beliefs, because we you know, we're like of a similar generation, we have the same experiences. That's it. Like, it's not hard. We don't need a cry session, Hunter. That's not how friendships work. I mean, like, maybe, I don't know how it is for women, but what I do know is that female friendships are quicker to start, but quicker to break up too. So, you know, I think male friendships that you may not have as many, but you'll have them for longer. They seem to be more, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Let me know what you guys, like, your experience in the comments.
What I've noticed about men is that they tend to bond a lot more with a shared goal or
Yeah.
shared activity.
Yeah.
And it's a bond that, you know, it might be more transient, but they get something social out of it. And I don't think we even, like, we're so ignorant of men's particular psychology that we don't even know how to categorize that friendships or the kind of sociality that sociality that comes out of a shared goal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have no literature around that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fact.
No, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Men, what sense of well-being?
They just treat, we just treat men like broken women. Like,
Yeah,
in every instance.
Yeah, and they're not. They're their own thing. I mean, they're not their own species, but they're their own thing, their own legitimate thing.
Yes.
And I think that's the real fear a lot of people have, is that men are their own legitimate thing. You know, they have their, and if you want a functional society, you can't just appeal to women. You can't just promote women's virtues. You have to also recognize the things that men want in a society.
Yep.
Okay? I mean, ultimately, like, people understand this when it comes to consumer goods to a degree. A lot of them seem to shame men for not liking the things that they tell them to like. But society is the same way. At some point, a society has to voluntarily get commitment from its members, male and female. And if you have nothing there for men, your society is not going to have a future. Okay? So, I mean, it's like that. It's just, and men have their own way of being that's perfectly legitimate and valid. And in my opinion, there's a lot more social pressure against men being allowed to be what they are than there is, I don't even think there is, towards women in a lot of ways. Like, the social pressure that women have is usually to conform to how they incentivize men's behavior.
Yeah.
So they have this quote-unquote sisterhood, which is very jealous of women responding to men in a certain way that ensures they get men resources from men. Attention, money, whatever it is they want. What they feel that they're owed. So the sisterhood forces women to conform to whatever strategy they have for extracting resources from men. And that's a pressure to force women to conform. And of course, feminists don't want to talk about that. But I don't think that it's like the legitimacy of female being is almost a given. It's men who have to be accepted as they are and seen as valuable as they are. They're very few. It seems like there are very, very few actual, like, belief systems that are just like, yeah, you know, men are good. No, they're good. You know,
Yeah.
they're decent as they are. You know, that doesn't mean that you necessarily don't want to get better. But, you know, it's the male raw materials that allow a lot of society to be built. It's the risk tolerance, the tolerance of discomfort, and all of that other stuff. It's very critical, you know, and there's very little recognition of the value of that. Because I think in a lot of ways it has to come from women. And women
Oh, yeah.
struggle.
I mean,
They struggle with this idea of the other. Like, women, a lot of women struggle with this idea that there is something that they are not for whatever reason. Which is why one of the big things about feminism seems to be, well, men are okay if they become women or try to ape women.
yeah. All right, let's keep going. I just want to make the statement that like if men are not allowed to, come together and hang out with each other without women, because women change the dynamic, and they can't do that anywhere. The military, they can't do it anywhere. So if they can't, and they struggle to form real bonds, because I think that the secret to men being more comfortable around women is for them to be more comfortable around themselves and men first. And there's a lot of work we have to do in those departments. And at least part of that is getting the fuck out of the way so that men can do that. So.
Now, while a lot of this may be true, men have been socialized this way for centuries, and this is all relatively a new phenomenon.
I don't think they're socialized. I don't like that argument. They evolved that way.
Well, let's put it this way, Brian. She could be referring to the fact that men have been socialized now to be suspicious of each other, of their relationships with each other.
I don't think she's saying that. I think she's agreeing with Hunter's statement that men are socialized to be stoic and competitive and dominant and violent and rapey and all of that.
You have to be like, there is a legitimacy to men's psychology that comes out of their biological reality.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not all of the stuff is not necessarily socialized, but I think that if we look at the evidence, the men who are socialized to break their own relationships are the ones who are more feminist, and it's obvious why. Like when you're look at the stuff that those guys were saying at the beginning.
Yeah.
All the other men are terrible. Like they all don't want relationships with other men. They don't like other men. They take their sense of value from throwing other men under the bus, and then you wonder where men's relationships went.
Well, you remember the Jubilee thing and the way the male feminists behaved versus the male non-feminists or whatever. Like, or that's it right there, right? The male. It's like the attitude that the male feminists have is one of opposition, and it's actually where this competitive shit that Hunter's talking about is coming from. But that's not how normal men are. Those are men that have been poisoned against other men. So that's what you're going to get.
But think about it. People on the left, those are the men they see.
Yes. And I get that, but I think they need to, go out and touch grass, meet real people.
Just go look at that Jubilee video and actually see how the men are acting.
Yeah.
The feminist men are incredibly toxically competitive with other men. And listen to the men in your group when they start talking about how other men are terrible and how they don't want to associate with them and how they're throwing other men in the bus in order to gain some kind of value in your group. Leftist, feminists.
Mm-hmm.
And then you ask, where did men's friendships go? Well, they went with every single insult a male feminist makes about other men. Every single degrading remark that a male feminist makes about other men and his relationships to other men, that's where they went. And you can go and look at that Jubilee anti-feminist versus feminist men. Go look at the behavior of feminist men. The behavior of feminist men is unbelievably toxically competitive. Like, one was basically talking about all of the victim groups and the women, like Pokemon, that he acquired badges on his freaking scout stash. And then the other one was talking about how he's the guard dog against all of those other male dogs that are sniffing around his family, his female relatives. And then the other one was basically talking about how his morality has nothing to do with his relationship with other men or his masculinity. It's entirely a heroic individual effort that he constructed on his part. You see, he was the first man that ever invented not wanting to rape women, you see. So it's his heroic battle against his own dark masculine impulses. And they're all like just this icon, like this miasma of the worst part of masculinity. And they're all feminist men showing them. You look at the non-feminist men, they're like, I think men should have space to feel things and talk about their issues. I think that men are I have male friends. We get along, really enjoy each other's company. We talk about things.
Yep.
They were just calm and normal and not hyped up on this super competitiveness with other men.
Yeah, and they weren't like dude broing it up or whatever stereotypes feminists think men do. Like, there was none of that.
That the stereotypes that the leftists are talking about 100% apply to leftist and feminist men. They are psychotically competitive with other men.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they want to prove that they're the best men. That's how you know.
And probably what's happening is leftists look at the men around them and say, "Oh my God, those men on the right.
Yeah.
They have to be 10 times worse.
They go to the gym.
No,
they're saving money in the bank.
They have to be 10 times worse than the men I'm surrounded with. Because the men I'm surrounded with are...
That guy's reading the Bible. Yeah, I know it's weird, but okay. So I get that they're definitely looking through like a prism.
They're looking
on their
prism.
side, and they see that, and usually it's probably the case that most of those men are also pretty well behaved, but occasionally when one gets out of line, they're like, oh, this must be what men are like.
The guys weren't like hopping around, slinging poo, and raping people's faces. They were just normal.
Yeah, I know, but there was like, yeah, I know.
Within the context of what's socially acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like both sides were basically acting in ways that were relatively socially acceptable. It's just one side was really, really angry, competitive, and hateful towards other men. And the other side was actually very friendly, compassionate, and interested in other men.
Yeah.
You know, and the one side was feminist, the other side was not feminist. And the left and the feminists are surrounded by men like that. And like I said, that everything that's wrong with men, the men around them, is 10 times worse on the right.
Yeah.
Because that's the way they think. So they're just extrapolating and they're just imagining the worst. And it's like, no, actually, once you get away from the male feminists, you see an ebbing of the toxic masculine, toxic masculine competition.
Although I will say, just to be certain on this, I'm pretty sure that all of them are some kind of feminist, like to some degree. But I think that the other guys were like, well, we're okay, because I'm sure that if you ask them, the non-feminist men, they would probably agree with some, like oh, I'm a second wave guy, I think they should have the vote, like those kinds of things. But I take what you're saying regardless. I think that it's because there could be a healthy amount of masculinity that's positive allowed into the space. That's what I'm saying. But men can't do that if they can't form space with each other. And like men kind of teach other men, like by example. Well, like this is why we have mentors, and that's why we have male teachers and scout leaders and stuff, because they're supposed to be the model, and the boys look at that. That's why, I don't know. You see what I'm saying? I don't know, drag this out.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And and what I'm saying is that left heal thyself, because your rhetoric is what's killing men's relationships with themselves and each other, and you can see it just listening to your men.
Yeah.
And how they talk about things, how they talk about other men, and how they talk about themselves as men. Just listen to that, and you can see where the relationships are disappearing and dying.
Yeah.
They're dying in the graveyard of the left, of the feminist thought.
Yeah. Okay. So I got a super chow. Thank you, Great Indoors. And Great Indoors says he gives us 2. It's like 110. And then says, here's a donation for your little fantasy pamphlet. Now stop it with these threats about arm twisting, you goddamn Canadian.
Oh, God.
Thank you, Great Indoors. Also, we got, again, just like yesterday, we got 110 people watching, Allison. This is cool. These are pretty good numbers. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate you joining in the conversation. It's so good to see a lot of people, getting involved. And also shout out again to Rumble and Twitch and DLive and Facebook. We see you. So
yes, we do.
Yes. All right. So let's continue with Shoes thing.
Am I muted? No, I'm not.
No, I can hear you. What were you gonna say?
I said we haven't seen these numbers since YouTube attempted to kill this channel.
Yeah. I don't know if maybe they've eased the pressure on our throats with their boot, but really, it's really good to see you guys. So all right, let's continue.
It's good to see you.
Yeah.
Toxic masculinity has existed forever. If anything, there's less toxic masculinity nowadays. The cultural embrace of
See what does that even mean? Shoe? I mean, I'm sorry, but I will not accept toxic masculinity as a thing. It's made up. It's made up. You mean men being competitive with each other? Do women not do that? Here's something, Allison, I want to mention since we're talking about toxic masculinity. I think I brought this up. I hope I didn't already. I apologize. My memory ain't what it used to be since I got sick. But Greta Gerwig. Did I say this already yesterday? I learned, or I was looking at something. Greta Gerwig is the feminist woman that wrote and directed the Barbie movie. Okay? And in the movie, there are a lot of things about women not... There was no love in the movie. There was no... it was like anti-family. It was like girls breaking babies over rocks and stuff. There was an abortion allegory. There was all of this stuff about being your own person, and just being happy with who you are, and like no investment in the future of society. Nothing like that at all. No, nothing. Okay. It was all just narcissistic navel gazing from start to finish. And the takeaway from the average woman, no matter like how intelligent you think it secretly was, is exactly the message that I just said. But what is funny is I learned later that Greta Gerwig is in a committed relationship with a man, and she has 2 kids. And I was like, wait a minute. Why would someone promote a message that they themselves do not follow? And I asked Lindsay, because she doesn't know the answer, and I don't have the answer, and maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But when a woman does that, or when someone does that, is that a kind of competition where it's like, you shouldn't have kids, but I'm gonna have kids? See what I'm saying? It's sort of like how isn't it Gloria Steinem was the one that said, a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle, but she's with a man. So, like, what I'm saying, if they're not following their own advice, are they engaging in some kind of,
I have an answer. I think I have an answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
Long for this, but could you repeat what Lindsay said? Maybe I can.
She didn't know. She said that she thinks that what it might have been is because there are women who make life choices, and because women can't stick to whatever they decide, they end up questioning themselves. So, she was talking about how her mother had a friend who had kids, and her mother would tell her. Her friend would tell Lindsay's mother, in polite conversation away from them that, if I didn't have kids, I could be a doctor, I could be traveling. So there's like this kind of buyer's remorse. And I think it goes both ways. Like, you either have kids and you regret not having kids, or you don't have kids and you regret not having kids. So she says it could be that, and that might be part of it, but there is something really, really sinister.
That is something. There is something.
Go ahead.
I have noticed something, and it's related to what she said. Okay, so Lindsay said it's possibly buyer's remorse. I think it might be deeper than that, and also because the thing is, if you think about it, if she has 2 kids, she should have an investment in the future.
Yeah.
Okay. And she must. If she's capable of the kind of reflection and abstraction that allows her to write stories, you would imagine that she's able to project into the future what will happen. Eventually society's going to run out of spending its grandchildren's money when it's not having any. That's what we're doing right now. We're like, we're writing checks our grandchildren are paying, except we're not having any. If she's smart enough to write, you would think she would be smart enough to project this into the future. I honestly think that there's something even deeper going on. And it's sort of difficult to set up in a live stream because it's got a lot of complex moving parts. But I think that, and might be controversial even with our audience, I think that there's a social function behind feminism.
Yeah.
That is actually critical to running society, or keeping society running, and that when you understand it, when you walk through that door, it's not that you justify feminism or any of its successes. You come to the point, it's sort of like I don't even know a transcendent pill. You come to the point where it no longer touches you, because you understand why it happened. And why it is a woman with 2 children who should be invested in the future is continuing to perpetuate it. And yeah, it's an interesting experience.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think I can get into the
Well,
nitty gritty.
yeah, I just wanted to put that out there, but I don't know if Greta Gerwig
have
is
an
that.
answer
I
for
mean,
you.
the story for that movie is awful. So I'm and then last time she did something well, it was an adaptation. All right, but anyway, let's continue with it. I'm just saying, toxic masculinity, unproven, not even theory. It's just some bullshit that was thrown out there, and I can't believe people just take it because somebody with a fucking piece of paper on the wall said it.
Gender nonconformity, femboys, Harry Styles in a dress, Barbie movie, blah 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 blah. My point is, toxic masculinity did not just appear in the mid-2010s, but social media did, and the internet did, and the rise of dating apps did, and the housing crisis, and living in a country where the wealth inequality is worse than it was during the Gilded Age. That all happened recently. Oh my god, the privileged life these poor little boys must have, that their biggest problem is being lonely, i.e. so insufferable that nobody wants to sleep with them.
How is it
So
that
much
these
more
people,
Huh?
like, okay, when they start talking about this shit, do they not realize that men are born into the same social stratification that they are?
Yeah,
Like, these
well,
people, like, what do you think? Boys are automatically in the top class? Like, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. This is a bunch of proles who are forced to argue amongst themselves in order to deflect away from the actual elite. That's it. Because it's ridiculous. Like, this is a ridiculous statement. The privileged life these poor little boys must have. Okay, when a boy is born, he's born into approximately the same socioeconomic class of his mother. Right? I'm not going to say his father because his father might not be there. So it is ridiculous to say that this kid is privileged. Much less privileged like you seem to think, or like every man is basically. What I'm saying is this rhetoric suggests that they think every man is born a Rockefeller.
yeah,
Every man.
yeah.
Which is bullshit. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Plus, like the way that the way the system works now, women are even the poorest woman is doing better than the poorest man, like a homeless man. And on top of that, like even the women on welfare, they live better lives than monarchs of the past. So this isn't something to like snub. Income inequality is such a bullshit argument. There's more stuff, and some people have more stuff than me. Yeah, but we all have more stuff. So what are you complaining about? Anyway,
Yeah,
and again, if any, no, but like, and the thing is too is that men are blocked from achieving. So if they're not doing well, it's the fault of what? It's the state, it's taxation, it's the welfare state, it's all these other things. It's not like just some monopoly man taking shit from people. Those men were men too. That's another thing about the left that I don't understand. Like, they want to say, like, even the ones that speak for men, they don't speak for all men. They speak for some men because there are other men that are part of the problem. So that doesn't work, right? And like you said, there were CEOs dying, sacrificing themselves to protect women and people beneath them in the two towers when they came down, because that's what a man is.
Yes. And the thing is that, CEOs, they're still men. Men in the C-suite are still men. Like, here I've been having this discussion on Twitter, and I don't know if I conveyed my point properly, but what I was telling them was that, well, someone was saying that not all men are CEOs, but what I wanted to point out is CEOs aren't CEOs the way that people portray them as. First of all, the average CEO is not a rock star, a Fortune 500 rock star. I'm a CEO. The average CEO makes at most twice as much as the average worker. Twice as much. Okay? That's it. And they are responsible. A person making twice as much is responsible for the wage of like 20 people. I'm not, but the average CEO is responsible for, the head of a small business, makes twice as much as the average worker, and makes sure another 20 people get paid. Okay? Does that make that a little bit more sensible?
Yeah.
It's like when you look at the top 500 CEOs, any argument based on them, the Fortune 500, is a meaningless argument. You might as well make an argument based on supermodels or sports stars.
Yeah.
Okay? It's meaningless.
I mean, if people are struggling right now, couldn't you just say that because there is a problem with people not having jobs, but that's
Yes.
kind of recent. Like as of I don't know 2020, because of something the government did that shut down a bunch of businesses. Because of riots that burned cities to the ground and nobody wanted to reopen, creating food deserts.
Okay, it was happening before then. The economy has been sort of a little bit problematic for a while, but it's because of the Fatberg. It's because we have a huge amount of institutions sitting on top, basically printing their own money.
I know.
You know, and it's like, yes, talking about the income inequality is legitimate, but it's coming because there's too much. There are too many corporations that are too big to fail.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically sit on welfare on the top as a gigantic fatberg pushing down the rest of the economy and men's achievement as well. So it's like, yeah, this is legitimate. And if we could get all of this anti-male rhetoric out, maybe the people on the left and the people on the economic right, left and right could actually discuss this. Like sensible people. I know I can hear the anarcho-capitalists screeching in the background, reeing in the background. Just forget I said that. But you know, like we could have this conversation. Yeah, the income inequality is bad. Where's it really coming from? You know? One of the things is that when men earn more, they elevate their women out of poverty, but not men, not when women earn more.
No, that's right.
When you give all of these opportunities to women, you create a stagnant society. And you are probably going to end up with a society of increasing economic chasm between the haves and the have-nots. Okay, and also like women going into the white-collar professions in the 80s and 90s stopped the upward mobility of men in the lower classes. Like, you know, there's all kinds of stuff we could talk about that's leading to this economic stagnation, the lack of innovation, the fact that we don't actually encourage masculine nature, like we don't encourage men and recognize that they have a unique ability to take risks, except in those jobs that we just, you know, nobody wants.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like we could have all these kinds of discussions, except this shit.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep going.
I didn't even get to what I was saying.
Do you know what it was? Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that they're men
analogy.
too. That's all.
I used an analogy, okay? I used, because I'm so good at those. I said every man is put into a death race, and the process of running that race, they gain the skills of survival. I mean, this is actually, I don't know if this is an analogy. Is it an analogy or is it a metaphor? I don't know. So they gain skills, they overcome they overcome what could be killing them. They gain the skills related to survival through either a combination of luck and perseverance. So like some of the things that they have, the obstacles they have to face: suicide, workplace death, homelessness, all kinds of physical problems from the work that they take. So they run those risks in this death race. At the end, some win through a result of probably luck and perseverance. Some win big, some win less, but they all have to go through it. And what happens is people ignore the fact that we put them in the death race. And that's why one of them wins it. Okay? So we look at that guy who wins it and says, oh, he's so privileged. No. The CEOs aren't privileged. They went through a fucking death race. And they ended up
and again, like what I mean, men all want to. It's not really about having the most. It's about like what men want is just to have enough, and they're trying to attract women at the end of the day. So
Yes,
what is it women want, right? So I mean, men are pursuing what women are asking.
Yeah. But that's sort of an added complexity. My point, overall point is that it's not that homeless men inherit the so-called privilege of CEOs.
Yeah.
It's that CEOs inherit the disprivilege, the disenfranchisement of homeless men. They
Yeah.
had to go through that. They had to go through the threat of homelessness. They had to go through the threat of losing a limb in work that was shit. I guarantee most CEOs have a worse job in their life that was hellish, because almost every man does. Okay, almost every man has a job like roofing, slinging tar on roofs in July.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that includes CEOs.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
and
yeah.
they will. So every man has run that race.
Yep.
And he won, not because he's privileged, but as a result of probably perseverance and a large amount of luck.
Mm-hmm.
Because somebody has to win the race. You know, you send out 100 boys, 80 die, but 20 win. Okay? Somebody has to be the lucky few. All right? So, but that's the point. We shouldn't be looking at men in the C-suite as privileged.
Yeah.
They're not. They ran
right.
the same risks as all men.
Let's keep going.
And the poor distribution of wealth causing people to suffer food and housing insecurity. Boo-hoo, you're lonely and have no friends and are suicidal when? Because feeling alienated under capitalism apparently isn't a thing. People are working harder and longer while wages have been stagnant.
They're also poor and homeless. Like, here's the thing, like, this person has a vision of men that's bizarre. It's not just that men are lonely. They're also more likely to be poor and fail to get through education and not be doing well in terms of jobs. I mean, the men who are still in jobs are earning more, but there's more men out of jobs than women.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
Also, capitalism doesn't alienate people. It's just property rights. Get it right. That's all it is.
Corporatism is probably.
I know, but they keep saying capitalism, Allison, because it's wrong. Like that. Can I have your microphone, Shoe? I'm gonna take your microphone. Oh no, wait. You want to keep it? Oh well, that's property rights, isn't it?
Men have been dropping out of college like flies, and what does that get you? Poor men. Which, since women are doing amazing in college now, and many are now out-earning men, this most of the time leads to single men, which then leads to lonely men, which leads to depressed men, which leads to the high suicide rate. In my opinion, leftism at a policy level does a great job addressing the shitty material conditions that in part lead to the problems that men are facing, but then absolutely drops the ball when it comes to everything and anything related to men's cultural issues.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
That's because men are not a priority for leftists. That's why. And also, they got it wrong. See, men... This is what I get upset about the capitalism thing, because it's inaccurate for one, but also you can't, again, capitalism requires a level of meritocracy to function without the let's say government interference. Okay, and that would be the most preferred method. I know we're not there now. This is a mixed economy. It would be great if we could do it, but I think we could. If we could do that, that would be great. But when you say all the stuff that you as a man want to pursue, you want to build your own business, you want to hustle, you want to use a skill or a passion or a craft to make money, and you want to use the money that you make, the value that you create to provide for your family, to provide for your children, and then you want to give that to your children so that they can carry on the legacy on and on. All of that's bad now because capitalism is bad. This is why it doesn't work. Masculinity and capitalism are like intrinsically linked. I'm sorry. Capitalism does not mean greed. Greed is not a product of that. Greed is a human problem. People are greedy. If you take away everything else, in Soviet Russia, greedy people existed because greed is a human problem. Okay? And that's usually what they mean when they say capitalism. They mean greed and they mean materialism. Well, guess what? Women are the most materialistic people on earth. You know, they buy shit and they throw it out immediately. Like, and nobody's addressing that. Nobody's addressing that.
Okay. What I wanted to say is I disagree that the left has actually really addressed these problems. What I would say is that we are in a civilization. Why am I smelling poop?
Did you poop yourself?
No.
Is there a dog? The dog pooped in there, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. No,
Okay.
I think it's okay. I think maybe somebody's changing the litter box. That was
So it's like cat poop. Okay.
Yeah, but sometimes dogs have accidents too. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
what was I going for? Okay. We are in the West. We are part of a global empire. And if you go looking past the Roman Empire, it had a grain dole. You know why it could afford a grain dole? Because it was on the peak of the civilization hierarchy at the time. Welfare only happens in states that are at the peak of civilization hierarchies. And they can afford it because they can push the costs onto the colonies, either actual or either they are literally colonies or they're basically just places that they can put their money or that use their currency. So that's why we can have welfare and address poverty in the States and in Western nations, because we're at the top of the pyramid and we can push the costs onto other countries and other people in the world. So I wouldn't be so pleased that we managed to do this, because it actually is somebody is paying for the grain dole.
Yeah.
And it's either it's the taxpayers in the U.S. And other Western nations, and it's also everybody else in the world.
And generations not yet born.
Generations not yet born. That's not a solution.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that men, if you want men to stop deleting themselves, they need to feel as though their life has meaning. And the number one way that men demonstrate that is by earning something, earning their worth, demonstrating their worth, right? So if you want to dismantle capitalism, property rights, you're taking away the thing that men use to show what they have earned.
Yeah.
So that's why I think that's why there's a lot of pessimism. And I think that leftist feminist men are probably also feeling that way, because they're like, well, I feel like I should be earning something, but I don't want anyone to know I'm earning something because that's bad. So men need the purpose. I mean, they need that more than they need women. See, I think that one of the reasons why we have this problem with loneliness and incels and stuff, and I don't think incels are a problem, don't get me wrong, but purposelessness, yeah, is that the women appear to be the prize. And that's probably not the best model when you could be modeling a kind of the goal of your legacy, maybe something like that. I mean, women obviously have to be a part of it, but when you're just focused on women and not you, what you're pursuing, what you want to earn, if you focus on that, then the women will come, right? So this is, and I'm, just to say, this is why people like Andrew Tate are popular, because he built a business, or at least this is the image that he puts out. Men see that, they see that it gets him, a lot of luxuries, and he obviously attracts women, etc. And they're like, well, that's what I want. But more than anything, men want to be able to say, I built that. That's what they want to be able to say. And if you're anti-property, then there's nothing that, and that means that you have to be anti-proof of worth, because a man can't have property unless he earns money, and money is simply a document that says this is how much my hard work has paid off, and this is what I'm earned. And that's what men want. They want to earn. And so if you take that away from them and you say, no, everything's going to be free now, which obviously it isn't, then you're taking that away from them. It kills their soul. I mean, women, they can do that too, but generally they don't have to. This is why are there so few women CEOs? Well, they don't want to put in 80 hours a week. Maybe they'll do it for a while and they're like, you know what? I'm tired. I'm just going to marry a guy and settle down. And that's what women, but men don't have they can't do that. I mean, women are out earning men, and they're not finding men because they want men better than the men than what they're making. Guess what? You've just cut off a big chunk of the entire market.
Yeah. I would say that I don't think that women are particularly happy in this materialism either.
No, they're not. No, but I mean, they keep being told that they should be.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's really that happy.
No.
And I mean, like, I'm not gonna. I think it just comes down to what we spoke about yesterday.
Mhm.
Any system that is going to work for men will have to incorporate a meritocracy. If you can make meritocracy work with communism, I applaud your black magic.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to do it. You got to figure that out. You got to square that circle.
Corporations are not capitalists. They are government.
And it's certainly not
supported
like
institutions.
corporations that just basically have a sluice of.
I'm saying that without the government, corporations couldn't exist. So,
well, yeah, a lot of them couldn't exist simply because they're too big to fail, and they're now on corporate welfare.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, let's keep going.
Yeah.
What? Oh, okay.
Many such cases. And why would a struggling man even want to move left when the left appears actively hostile to them?
The question of whether or not the hashtag online left is enough to appeal to hashtag men has become the question du jour. And men have most of the money, authority, and do most of the murdering and assaulting.
The average young man in America isn't Jeff Bezos. Also, why did this motherfucker just—
Jeff Bezos doesn't do murdering and assaulting, and he works really hard. Sorry you don't like him, but that's the truth. He earned it.
Yeah.
I mean, the government helped him. The government helped him, but yeah. Amazon is providing something that no one else did. In fact, I'm not a fan of Amazon. I'm not saying that, okay? But when the lockdowns happened, people literally could not go to the store in parts of the world. They could not leave their house. And so their only option was Amazon.
Yeah.
Right?
So who's really responsible for all that wealth?
Yeah. Exactly. But I mean,
Okay.
Jeff Bezos is not fucking, Patrick Bateman. That doesn't exist. That's a satire, guys. You watch too many movies.
Okay. I think that she's just saying that this guy thinks that every man is Bezos, but
Yeah, I know.
honestly, that is a problem that has been a constant theme throughout all of this. For
Mhm.
some reason, men have become synonymous with the aristocracy.
It's the apex fallacy. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? There's nothing. You're not going to get anywhere with this kind of your rhetoric looping back around your brain. And also, this dude, you are a man. I think.
I don't know. He's wearing lipstick, so we've learned, thanks to Neil deGrasse Tyson, that if you cut your hair short as a girl, you're obviously on the gender spectrum somewhere away from woman. That's what it is now. That's the reality. The black science man said it, so it is now law. It is the science. So
Right.
yeah, that guy's probably not a man. That's why he can criticize men.
Okay, so what does she say about the rest of this?
All right, let's keep going.
just FBI crime statistics at me? Men do the most murder. Okay?
They like having all of the stuff they don't deserve. They like that. They want it to
What?
stay that way because it suits them. Because of the stuff, telling people they're special and deserve all the nice shit that they have, that's going to be an easier sell 10 times out of 10 than saying, hey, maybe you should have less stuff and other people should have more.
Left is
What?
I mean,
So literally-
he's not lying. That's literally what they believe. That's literally it. He's just putting it out there, black and white. That's what they believe.
Do they? Okay, first of all, the men with the stuff have women.
I mean,
Like,
how
what
much
was
stuff
the
is too
secret?
much stuff?
No, seriously. The men with the stuff have got the women. They are not the ones who are lonely.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah.
So the men with the stuff are the ones who are actually incentivized. Don't they see how self-defeating this is? Men want to have partners. They want to have a goal. Okay, let's just say this. Men want to feel like they're building something, primarily. All right? And they also want to be able to have families. Now, this is just general. Not every man is going to be like that, right? And not every man has to be. But neither of these two things the left wants to attend to. They don't recognize how men create a greater goal. They don't want to create that meritocracy where men can pursue pro-social ends that build a society, and they don't give a crap about making it so that men have relationships with women. So how are you going to construct your left utopia? Like you're not going to appeal to anyone. You're not going to appeal to the women because the women want the men with stuff. Versus, well, and it doesn't necessarily. It could be if tomorrow the thing was that the cheese is the man with the largest acreage in Texas. Okay, that's the big cheese.
Yeah.
Guess who's gonna have the most women? Okay, if the big cheese is the man who is most devoted to, you know, the communist motherland, who do you think is gonna have all the checks? All right, all right. So when you recognize the way that men become the big cheese, okay, so that the way that men contribute in a positive way to whatever it is you're doing, and also, you know, give them some kind of status, then you're also attracting women. Because they want those men. What the hell? What do you think you're gonna, like, you guys are useless. All you are is a parasite class that only exists because of the freaking world reserve currency. That's it. You're not imagining anything new. You're not functionally producing anything new. You exist because the world is basically, you know, subjugated to a particular currency. Yeah. Which gives you the ability to print infinite money and sell your grandchildren's labor. That's the only reason why all of you lefts exist.
Oh yeah, you could only exist in a time of abundance. If we were all poor and like living in huts, like that, there are no commies in like the third world. So until they create the third world, yeah.
Okay, that's why they're complaining on the left that there's this huge schism between the values of the West and the values of the rest of the world. The values of the rest of the world is still, you know, work. Women need to work and provide for their families and respect, you know, their husbands and whatever, and also have children and do this other thing. There's all conservative values in the rest of the world because they have to, because they can't sit in troughs of fucking money talking about how poor they are, you know, not having to work and still being able to weigh 300 pounds. Okay, you know, this is why you exist. You are an expression of affluence. And all of your theories about the world and about how you're going to construct your utopia are bullshit, because they're just expressions of affluence. If you are not attending to the fact that women want men who gain status, who have status, whatever that status is, it could, you know what? Tomorrow, it could be that the man who recycles the most is the big cheese. And then he's going to have all the checks. And what would the world look like then? You know, the man with the most amount of solar panels is the big cheese. What would the world look like then? Right? You got to figure that out. Otherwise, you got nothing. All you are is an expression of affluence, complaining about affluence. Yeah. Okay. I'm done with my rant.
All right, I got super chats and a Rumble rant. So I'm gonna start with the Rumble rant. Thank you, NobaFan21 for $2, and says, I think when feminists and leftists say socialize, I think they point to TV shows and call it propaganda while ignoring every toxic female behavior. Essentially, the I blame the rap music. Yeah, I mean that. Well, they often cite like things in pop culture, which is weird because pop culture stuff is made by, well, leftists and feminists most of the time, that are creating like a kind of clown show stereotype of what they think reality is, but they don't live in reality because most of these people are like fucking rich as hell and they don't really see what the normal everyday person deals with. But thank you, NobaFan, for that. Albert Nader Retro gives us $2 Canadian and says, time to play that What Is a Man Watch ad, Brian. I'm sorry, I don't have it handy. And it's probably too long. I don't want this to go too long, so... Q Brother Soulstar gives us $5 and says, it's like they're trying to drive men towards the next armed tragedy. I think they want men to blow up. I mean, like, literally blow up? I mean, there is... I think that one of the things that feminism does do unfortunately, effectively, is set men against other men. And then they go, why are men's making friends with other men's? So, because I mean, they do. They set men against other men. And to a degree, they set women against women too. So,
And you know, oh yeah, they definitely do.
Yeah.
Like, women are in this, you try to pretend like women are buddy, but they're in a struggle over resources as well. And a great deal of suspicion over and contempt towards women who challenge the current way that women justify seizing resources from men.
Yeah.
Okay, what I was gonna say is, men are horrible. Why aren't they making friends with each other?
Yeah, men are horrible. Why aren't you guys friends with each other? Although we want you to be friends with each other, but we want it to be on our terms. Are you guys crying and hugging and giving each other hand jobs enough? Because that's important. That's what we do as ladies, occasionally.
Oh.
Anyway, let's go on.
Leftism is when you don't have a lot of stuff. We're gonna take your stuff. You sound like a 65-year-old Fox News boomer's idea of what the left is. Are you a CIA agent? The right is saying to men, you will own a house. You will have beautiful children with your loving wife. You will have privacy. You will have free speech. You will own things, and you will be happy. And the left is like,
They like having all of the stuff they don't deserve.
but don't get me wrong, Republicans will not do shit. The Republican Party will not do shit. The establishment in general will not do shit to help any of this.
Well, wait a minute. But what are they supposed to do? Because again, what that means is the government has to get involved. Why would the government get involved to help men with anything? If anything, the government milks men. So you're saying the establishment won't do anything. Well, what are they supposed to do? I remember Josh Hawley wrote a book, but everybody shitted on him, didn't they? So, I mean, other than that, I don't get it. Like, the only thing the state can do is get out of men's way. That is the one thing that they will not do under any circumstances. So what is the point in saying the Republicans are going to... The Democrats aren't doing shit either!
Yeah,
Like-
that is, I think but honestly, Brian, you're right. And neither side is going to ultimately do anything. They're going to continue to attempt to twist everything into protecting or providing for women.
Yeah, and women are not going to say, we don't need your help. They're just going to sit there and say, okay, good. I like free stuff. I like all the stuff that men make, and I want to take it. Even though when men acquire stuff, they actually want to give that stuff to women. but no, why would women go to men for stuff when they can get the government to take the stuff from men and give it to them anyways? Because that's where we are now. So again,
That occurred to me.
I don't...
Like, why
What?
did the Mattel people in the Barbie land, why didn't they just create their own island for Kens? And just let them have their Mojo Dojo shit?
Well, because I think ultimately, because Greta Gerwig's a terrible writer and she doesn't understand how men work, so there's that. I think that's all it is. I can go into like all of the things they could have done better, but like ultimately she needed her twisted upside down clown world view of reality to manifest in Barbie Land, and so she just did it. She just forced it in there. Like Lena Dunham and her Pebbles. Anyway, that's I don't know if you guys know that reference, but all right, let's keep going.
Well, you said Lena Dunham and Pebbles, so I'm
Yeah, that's
guessing
all.
that
That's
those
it.
Those Pebbles have PTSD and some seriously horrifying stories to tell.
Yeah, there was a book she wrote, so that's all I'll say.
Is
Let's
at
move
least rhetorically offering men something other than nothing or the eternal HR department. Every time this Discord comes up, there's people like, we need a leftist Andrew Tate. We need masculine role models on the left. But the fact is, it's hard for progressives to organically appeal to men because a large part of progressivism is oppressive hierarchies, and men are oppressors. Making progressivism look appealing to young men is an uphill battle from the start. And although it's funny to laugh at insane people on Twitter, as always,
Well, go ahead.
Does she believe that men are oppressors, or she's saying that?
Well, she's on the left, so I think to some degree, yes. Because, like, again, I don't want to assume what she knows, but like, this is the sticking point. This is the impossible obstacle, because leftism can only exist if there is an oppressor class, and men are the oppressor class. So unless you tear that idea down, which would destroy leftism. It's like it's patriarchy. It's the same thing, okay? patriarchy in feminism is a necessity. Like, you cannot be a feminist that doesn't believe in patriarchy, because basically you don't believe in feminism anymore. You just believe in, like, women and fairness and justice, and that's it, right? But because feminism is built on the foundation of patriarchy, leftism in the broader sense is built on the narrative of, or the oppression narrative, that there is an oppressor class. And that oppressor class can take multiple forms thanks to intersectionality. It's white people, it's men, it's like the rich, it's the straight people, it's the cis people, whatever. And so because she's basically, I think that she's experiencing cognitive dissonance, because you want to advocate for men, but leftism is constructed specifically to cast men as the bad guys. And then the only way you can maybe work around it is say, okay, not all men, but just like the really rich men, or just like the men in positions of the highest levels of government, or maybe just like the people in the high, because there are women like Kamala Harris that have tremendous amounts of power. So maybe my head, you know. There's no way you could build an ideology with that kind of. You need an oppressor. That's the way it works.
That men are currently the oppressor, so you have to fight against almost the entirety of your side.
Yes.
But the thing is that, okay, let's be honest. Is the right really that much better when it comes to recognizing that men are not inherently oppressive? And that, in fact, men's predominant relationship towards women is one of a desire to protect and provide for women as a group, which is why, every nationality is symbolized by a female waifu.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's why. It's because they want to capture that instinct for men to try to protect and provide for women.
Yes.
And like, that's the predominant instinct that men have towards women.
Yes.
And does the right actually embrace recognizing that? Not that I don't know, that Christianity makes men do it, or Islam makes men do it, or progressivism makes men do it, or being a Republican makes men do it, but that it is inherent to men to do it. And
I would say yes, because why not? Yeah, sure. I mean, when she says you can get stuff, I think that they're saying we believe that men are capable of accomplishing these things. I look, we can say that that there are people on the right that don't know what's going on, that they're not aware of the scope of the problem, and they don't know what the solution is,
right.
And they're still buying into this women worsting thing to some degree. But it is not even close to what the left is doing. It's not even close. There's a big difference between actively being violent and hateful towards men and just being clueless. There's a complete difference, Allison. I don't see why we keep on going back and bashing these people that just need our help.
Because they deserve it. They're allowing this to happen. If they
don't know! They don't know what's happening! We have to help them! I'm so tired of this! It's like an endless everybody's to blame but us. That's ridiculous. I want to help these people. I get guests on all the time, and you know what? The left never comes on this show. They never want to talk to me, but the right always does. And then I plant a little seed, and I get them to think about this stuff, and they go back, and maybe something changes. But I'm sick of this. I'm not trying to be partisan. I never wanted to be partisan, but that's how it's shaking out, Allison. That's how it's shaking out. It's not my fault. It's reality.
Oh, there you go. That's something that Shoe has to deal with.
Yes, she does. And I'm sorry for yelling, but like,
The reality is that the right is actually, even if they are not, okay, right politicians, there are very few of them who are going to stand up and say, no, this oppressive narrative is wrong. It is 150% wrong.
Yes, it is.
We're not going to apply it to any men, and we are not going to use it against any group of men, even people that we think are men. Okay? Maybe there's no politician who's going to stand up for that. But the small person on the right actually has space in their mind and their will to talk about these issues and to care about them. The left doesn't.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not mad at you. I just want to be clear. I think that we can't do this by ourselves. We're too small. We don't have a lot of reach. I'm willing to work with anyone that is willing to listen, and only the right has been listening to me. And Karen, she goes on radio shows all the time. Only right-wing radios bring her on. So there's clearly people on that side that are grasping at something that will help them. There are people on the right, and I include libertarians when I say that are like, there is a problem with our population. It is collapsing. People are not forming families. What are we gonna do? None of this leftist shit is gonna last once like enough collapse has happened. And the left never wants to talk to us. They are completely hostile. They are okay with casting us in the worst possible light. They just want to keep getting their free shit, and they're okay with men working themselves to death to give it to them. Yes, there are problems.
They are
what?
A justification.
Yes.
They are a expression of affluence and a justification why they're owed in an affluent world the proceeds of children that haven't even been born yet and the proceeds of other nations around the world that are poorer. Period. That just a self-justification for why you get to sit on your aristocratic ass and suck up other people's resources. Yeah. Okay? They are the aristocracy in Louis the 16th France. They're sitting on their endowments, their what is it called, trust funds, basically their welfare. Aristocrats in 16th century France, they got money for just existing. Just existing. That was communism for the aristocrats, but guess who had to pay for it? And there is somebody paying for this stuff. Yeah. And if it's not you, if it's not people in the West, and it is the taxpayers in the West, it's other nations who have to deal with this osmotic pump of resources going into the West. And I know I might sound like a fucking socialist, but I think that's more important than continuing to indulge the fantasies of expressions of affluence in the West, which is almost the entirety of the left. But the thing that I wanted to say is, I think that Republican politicians are useless. Yes, small people on the right will listen to us. But I think that ultimately the changes that need to be made have to start with doing something different. And we are doing something different here. 100%. We are saying that you cannot, period, believe or perpetuate the lie that the primary relationship, that the primary description of the relationship between men and women is one of oppression. Okay? That men oppress women. I also don't think that women oppress men. I have my own reasons for that. I won't get into it, but this is the one that's the big one, that men oppress women. That is 100% false. And if you cannot stand and say that is 100% false, the primary expression of men towards women throughout all of human history, almost no exception, is protection and provision. Period. If you cannot say that, if you cannot understand that, if you cannot internalize it, you are not going to be part of the solution. You are going to be part of the problem. I don't care what position you have in the 4 quadrants of the chart. This is what matters. This is what is the word for it? This is the point, the line in the sand. What is the word for it?
The event horizon? I'm not sure.
I don't know. It's like this is the flashpoint, whatever you call it. This is the line. You either get away from believing that men oppress women and construct a society for their own benefit at the expense of women, or you're doing fucking all. And it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat, liberal or socialist. I don't know how you are going to be left and still incorporate men's issues because of all of the shit that we're talking about. But if you do it, bully, you have a medal for those mental gymnastics. But whatever, it doesn't matter your political position. It all comes down to that choice.
Well, I
believe it or not.
I don't think that men want the state to help them. I think that men want the state to get out of their way. And I think that because men, I think the existence of a welfare state or whatever the left wants, it presumes that men would never give their resources or take care of women without the state's intervention. And that is an actual hateful presumption to make, because obviously men work to support women and families. So when you say, well, because feminists will always say this, right? Like, you're not going to take care of her, right? You just gonna, everything that you earn is your stuff. It's your stuff that you want to keep. And I'm just like, men don't want that. They want to be free to choose the good. That's what they want. They want to be free to earn so that they can give what they work for to their families. That's what I do.
Yes.
I work here on this show, and all of my money goes right into our house, our food, our utilities. Why? Because I love my wife, Lindsay, and I love my dog, Jojo, and that's it. I put gas in the car. I don't do much for myself, and I just, because that's what I want, and I want to be able to do that. And I think that's what most men want, even gay men.
Yeah.
They want to do that for their partners. So if you institute policies to redistribute wealth, you are telling men that they can't be trusted to do it.
Yeah, you're telling men that they can't be trusted to do it, and you're limiting their ability to do so.
And you're limiting their ability to actually do it, right?
Maybe we don't have an answer for how to juggle all this while still giving people maybe a soft place to land or whatever the hell we're
Yeah.
gonna do.
Well,
But we have to look at these things.
I'm not talking about abolishing anything, because I know that we're already, like, a lot of people are really in it right now. I'm just saying, like, this is the thing that we should be, like, crawling towards if possible, because I think that it starts with that initial lie of patriarchy that men would only benefit themselves, and that's kind of a self-report, honestly, on the part of feminists, because they're saying that that's what they would do, and that's literally what they did in the Barbie movie. They're telling you what they believe, right? So,
all right.
anyway,
Wow,
I'm sorry for that. So let me. I got some stuff to
This is the
read.
first time that you might have blown everybody's ears.
I know.
out.
I did. I think I used to yell a little bit on streams before, but I mean, I think that there are. I see a lot of
Genuine frustration. Like,
yeah, it is genuinely frustrating, but like I do see some. So I think that there are people that want to help, and I think that they don't know the scope of the problem, but I think it's starting to hit them now. People outside of this conversation, outside of this space, right? And I can name Republicans and Democrats that I think would be good. So I'm not like I said when I was saying before, I never wanted this to be a partisan thing, but they have made this that way. It's just like when people say, "Oh, I want to do comics for Comicsgate, but I don't want this to be political," and it's like, but it is. Like, whether you like it or not,
Yes,
it is. So this is whatever we do is now going to be viewed as a political act. That's right. So you might as well just let that go and just do what you're going to do, and and just like let the chips fall where they may. So I like Robert F. Kennedy. I like Vivek Ramaswamy. I like Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, I like those people. I still like Trump too. Sorry, but I do. And I think that, I like Josh Hawley. So I mean, I think there are people that they're close-ish. They're on their way, and all we got to do is wait. We just keep having these conversations. Like, we're at the point now where even feminists have to acknowledge men's problems, which they wouldn't do, like 6 years ago, 5 years ago, maybe. Now they have to, and they're just going to like try and co-opt it. But that's okay. We know that's going to happen, right? We're at the point now where the word misandry is seeing use outside of these spaces. And we're also at the point where people like Jordan Peterson are, Andrew Tate and so on, are being like lambasted in the media. Pearl, etc. By the way, I'm gonna be having Pearl on soon.
Really?
And yeah, like she's visiting family in Chicago. Pearl's from Chicago. I didn't know that, but yeah, she's seeing family in Chicago, and then when she gets back, we're gonna set up a date. So I'll talk to her.
awesome. Good
So
job.
yeah.
Sorry
So I
for
mean,
pushing you like that.
no, it's okay. It's just that it's okay. I try to be plugged into what's going on and where people are at, and I think that I mean, I'm just responding to what I've seen. I may not be right because who knows? You know, we don't have that 360-degree vision that tells us exactly how things are shaking out. But based on stuff I've seen around, that's kind of the impression I get, is that there are people that see this problem and they're.
Well, how can you not? Like,
yeah,
ultimately,
no, I know.
nothing fucking matters if we can't pay for anything.
Yes.
If we run out of our great-grandchildren's money, guys.
Yeah, like
nothing
we're
matters.
just sucking the taxpayers' money dry and the future generations, and most of those people are
We're
men.
not-
When I acknowledge that most of the men are a tax, what do you call it? They pay into the taxation
Net worth?
overall, the net, yeah, like a net contributor, and women are a net. Not that women aren't paying taxes, but like women are taking more out than they're putting in. So like that's not a sustainable model, and women are not gonna have to. They're not gonna want to work for their whole life the way that men are willing to, and you know they maybe they shouldn't have to. Maybe they should be able to just do it for a while, save up some money, then like quit, retire, marry a guy, whatever it is. Maybe that model is okay because like when you try to invert it, when you try to make women the breadwinners and men are the stay-at-home dads, in some cases that works. But it looks like women are not happy with that, and they're like, why is the divorce rate so high? Oh, I don't know. So
Well, it works really well for kids. Like,
yeah,
if you want a really mentally healthy, intelligent super child, get a stay-at-home dad.
yeah.
Like they do really well with fathers.
Oh, I know. Yeah, kids do really well with dads. But look at how feminists treat stay-at-home dads. You remember all the articles that we have read where feminists are lamenting the fact that like stay-at-home dads are celebrated simply for existing. Like, oh, everybody's so happy to. And it's like, well, can we give men credit for anything? Like, all we do is endlessly discourage them. So,
Like, what women are celebrated when they do men's roles.
women are celebrated when they do nothing.
Yeah, they're constantly being celebrated. Like, oh, look, women is doing this male-dominated. Like, why wouldn't you celebrate men for going into something that's a usually female occupation?
Mm-hmm.
And that what's really hilarious is that would we accept that? Like, would the mainstream media be okay with men saying, "Oh, why do we celebrate women going into men's occupations? We don't celebrate men going into men's occupations." I'd have never even heard someone say that.
Nope.
The first time I heard that said is me right now. This isn't even something that men conceive of saying. And this is the amount of resentment to even say, well, why do we celebrate men going into women's occupations? Because they're doing something unexpected, and it shouldn't be you're right, it should be normalized. That's something that should be normalized. Men taking care of their kids. There should be no problem with that.
Absolutely.
If a career woman wants to have children with a stay-at-home father, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Like, seriously. And honestly, if feminism was about genuinely getting rid of the stigma around being a career woman and having a stay-at-home spouse, if they genuinely were, then I would actually have I'd be more willing to support them. I mean, everything else makes me not want to support them, but that would be a good thing. That would be something I could point to and say, hey, feminists, yeah, that's good. You are applauding men staying at home, taking care of their kids. You're saying, yeah, they should be, and they should be celebrated until it's normalized.
Yep.
And nobody even remarks on it, and nobody side eyes the career woman and says, "Oh, do you?" I mean, he's a bit of a parasite, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's taking advantage of you.
He's taking,
that kind of shit.
Yeah, sure, for sure.
If they actually did the work to make it more people accept other people's life choices that aren't negative, okay? Like, I'm not talking about sex parties where you have sex with like 300 other men, and other shit like that, utter degeneracy that really, at that point, it's like, is that really sexual, or is this your way of flagellating yourself and express self-harm? Like, you don't have to accept stuff like that. But if somebody has arranged their life in a way where they feel most happy to contribute to a family and to society and to the betterment of the human race, it doesn't all have to look the fucking same. And if they had done that, if they had kept those ideals, Be a good person. Contribute to your family. Contribute to your community. Be a net benefit to the human race. A net provider for others. You know, if they had said that, but you know what? If you want to be two men living in a relationship doing that, fine. You want to be two women living in a relationship doing that, fine. You want to be a man and a woman, that's great. Okay? You want to have a stay-at-home man, you know, stay-at-home dad, that's great. All right? But do that. And always put love for the people in your life and love for your neighbor at the center of what you're doing.
Yeah.
If they had done that, if they had promoted that kind of sense of diversity, but social responsibility, I'd have no fucking problem with them. I don't think anybody would. Well, maybe like really, really traditionalist conservatives would.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe.
But I mean, like,
maybe
so what?
willing...
People can do whatever they want anyway, as long as they're not like trying to make it illegal or something, you know? So,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can have a community of ultra conservatism too. Deal. But if everybody keeps that in their heart, their love for their family, and their love for their community, and their desire to serve the human race, what's the problem?
Okay, I got super chows, and we're almost at the top of the hour, so I want to get through it. But Mike, thank you, Mike, sends us $5 and says loud Brian donation. Thank you, Mike. Sorry for that. And
Don't worry about
Richard
it.
Bier, I know it's bad. Richard Bier gives us $50.
And his name is John C.
I think Richard wants that to be his official soundbite when he donates, because he always writes he's John Cena in there. So,
yeah.
And he says, for $50, thank you. That's really, really, really kind of you. This is a contribution to the fund to get Brian and Allison new microphones for when they blow out from the shouting. As far as AI replacing office jobs goes, I remember a news magazine show segment during the internet gold rush. Days where some firms, the gold rush days, where some firms which were providing services with a very small staff would hire job title, blank job title, fake workers so that clients would see a very fully staffed office to cater to the needs of the customers. Tim Pool mentioned a company in New York City that had a 12-story office building full of people who didn't know what their individual contributions did for the final product. A different version of the TikTok girls bragging about their do-nothing adult daycare jobs as social media companies. Allison, have you seen those videos?
Yes,
I
have.
It's a woman that says this is a day in the life working at, and it's like some tech company, and all it is them eating avocado toast and getting like custom lattes and hanging out in the pool and shit.
Jesus Christ! Like that is a day of work. That's like, you know, we get to go to the city, do our chores like once or twice a month, and I go and I get myself a bubble tea. And we get some food.
Those? Remember that liquid chocolate stuff that you used to like so much?
Yes, but there's nowhere to get it here.
Oh, so you gotta go. No. You have to go to Calgary to get it.
No, they don't have it in Calgary anymore. Like Vancouver,
what?
Maybe.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay, I blame
it
Trudeau.
Was good.
Thanks, Trudeau.
Yeah, it's no. Actually, I think it was just there was a flood in that particular.
Oh, okay.
Outlet got hit pretty hard.
I
think that is like that kind of day is a treat, you know, once or twice a month. You get to go and just go out and have I don't know, like for me a bubble tea, and I get myself some sushi, and it's nice because I can just enjoy my time and not think about this shit. I honestly, I know this is really bad. I never really talk about this with people. I know you do, Brian, but it's like when I'm not talking about this on here or working on videos, I don't want to talk about this. No offense, guys. It's just too fucking much.
Yeah.
I need time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you.
Plus, I'm not the most impressively social person, so I don't know how to broach these topics in a way that isn't immediately off-putting.
Yeah.
Although interestingly enough, like the community that I'm in, I get the sense that it's more conservative
Which
And-
community that you're in?
Well, Kelvington.
Oh, where you live? Oh yeah, small town people. Try that in a small
Yeah.
town.
Yeah, well, even,
for sure.
even more so because we go through a small town that has that stupid, excessive.
It's a very small
Right.
town. I think you guys have like one gas station,
Yeah,
one grocery store, one liquor store,
Yeah.
and a couple of restaurants, like a Chinese place and a Greasy Spoon. I don't know if they're still
Yeah.
there, but yeah.
And a pizza place now. We also have-
Oh wow, y'all coming up?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they do have good donuts at the Greasy Spoon. That's at least one thing.
Yeah.
But what I've noticed is that the community seems to be more like there when our premier for the province came through and did a little town hall here.
Mm-hmm.
It was really interesting. He's actually, his name is Mo, and he doesn't seem like he's that bad a guy. He's been starting to fight for like making Saskatchewan, which is my province, more independent from the federal government.
Yeah, that's good.
And stopping some of the legislation that
Yeah.
Trudeau is forcing on everyone. But during the town hall, there's like this little old woman who stands up. You know, she's like clutching her purse with her like pillbox hat with a lace,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, she comes over to the microphone, and she says, "And what's your policy on the WEF?"
Oh wow,
Holy-
based. I don't know that. Is that a conservative position to be worried about having to live in the pod and eat the bugs? I mean, I don't think so. Get to net zero, not be able to travel again. Basically,
Yeah,
entire
it's really-
industry shutting down.
And I'm like, how did this little old lady
Yeah,
become the vector for internet culture into this town hall?
she's probably like the biggest troll on like some forum somewhere. She's like LMAOing people on Twitter.
Yeah, but it was. And
Was she holding a little American flag inside the White House on January 6th? No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Don't bring that heat down.
Yeah. I know.
But recently we had a parade, and somebody actually had a "fuck Trudeau" flag in the parade.
Whoa.
It was
No,
it
that's
was pretty
that's dope.
unremarked upon, but he was just like, yeah, there's a lot of negative sentiment towards Trudeau in rural Canada. Let me tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really definitely justified. But anyway,
Yeah.
we're a little bit.
Yeah, we are a little, yeah, definitely. All right, I got super chats to read. Thank you, Richard BR, for that. Albert Nader Retro gives us $5 Canadian, says, according to Daisy Cousins, Kens don't sleep, they just disappear and then reappear in the morning. It's kind of like how feminists think men's lives are. They only exist in when they're oppressing women, and then they don't. It's like, you know, what is it when babies can't, like, if you play peekaboo, object permanence, that's it's that. Okay, thank you, Albert. Emery Callum, I don't know, gives us $2 and says, affluent, not affluent. Yeah, it's affluent. Yeah. Thanks for the correction. That was Allison. She said affluent wrong.
Affluent?
No, it's not affluent. It's affluent, like fluid. Affluent.
Are you
Albert,
sure? I speak
Yes.
Canadian.
Yeah, I know. Maybe in Canada they say Zed. I don't even get that. Albert Nader Retro gives us $5 Canadian and says, have you been able to contact Steph, aka My Nerdy Home from Geeks and Gamers? No, I didn't know that. Did you send me that information? I'm gonna be 50 in a couple weeks. My memory ain't what it used to be. But
Okay.
just like
You
if you want me to what were we gonna say, Allison, about contacting a
Well, I was
guest?
going to say that if you want to just make sure that we have that information, you can send it to the Badger at feedthebadger.com.
Yeah. So just give us the information in whatever way you can reach me. I'm on Facebook under my real name. I'm on Twitter under @BadgerArcade or X, whatever the hell we're calling it. I don't like that. I just want to call it Twitter. And if you're in the Discord, you can just drop it in the suggestions, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can drop it in suggestions. That's really helpful. If you do have access to the Discord, incidentally, if you want access, you can become a subscriber at feedthebadger.com. And you get access to all kinds of cool stuff.
Yes.
And it is really helpful to us for people to take part in the Discord. It helps us find new stuff. be abreast of the latest memes so that we can say hello, fellow children, fellow kids, and also like get resources for understanding like the statistical reality and stuff like that. Plus my very favorite channel, which is Kitty Puppers and Snack. You can put your cat pictures through.
Your animu pictures, but they have to be real animals, not people in costumes. There's another channel for that.
What gets me through the day.
Yeah.
Is the cat pictures, the cat and doggo pictures. But anyway, so if you want to join us there, it's at feedthebadger.com. Also a very convenient list of after shows, which you can get access to, and a list of our previous shows. That lots of people find that useful. But anyway, if you do want to send us that suggestion, badger at feedthebadger.com.
Yeah.
Way to do that. All right.
So I got another super chow. This probably is another donation, some more support. John Taylor gives us $50 and $30 and doesn't really leave any comments. But thank you, John Taylor. If you meant to say something, just tag at Badger Livestreams in the live chat or wherever it is that you are chatting with us on Rumble or D Live or Twitch or Twitter or Facebook. Okay, let's get back to this because I want to get to the end of this because she does say some good things in here.
There have been a lot of left-wing content creators talking about men's issues. If you would have told me this would be a thing 9 years ago, I would not believe you because anyone talking about men's issues back in the day was called an MRA or a pick-me. But lately I have seen a lot of good pro-men lefty content, and I'll put some links to some below. I don't agree with all the points they say, but I recommend watching. It's much better than...
They like having all of the stuff they don't deserve.
But the issue is a lot of this lefty pro-men content, it's always framed around how do we get them?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It is. Yeah. I don't think the right's doing that either. I think they're just like, they assume that men will figure it out, but like, the left is, it's conditional. What were you gonna say?
What if we have to actually create or figure out or allow a new meritocracy to form? Like, I don't know, I don't necessarily know what it would look like. Maybe it's something that, you know, like men spontaneously invent a new sport out of like a random rock and a stick that they found. And they just, you know, suddenly have a new sport that they're playing and then women have to get into it. But maybe that's the way these meritocracies start to develop, and maybe we need to let that happen. That's not a conservative position, as far as I can tell.
Shouldn't be.
It's not serving anything. It's actually an act of innovation and new creation. Hopefully, it would have to be informed by an understanding of what men need, or an expression of masculinity, because it probably is going to be something that's constructed by men. That needs to happen. Like, that's probably not going to be like a conservative thing. Where is like that? So, I mean, what if that needs to happen? What if we need a new form of meritocracy? That means we're going to have a completely new thing that we do.
Yeah.
And that's like not going to come from conservatives trying to conserve what we did in the past. But it has to be something that recognizes what men need, or at least lets men get down to inventing their new thing. So that's something, you know. I don't know if that's explicitly from the left, but it's definitely something that's more revolutionary and not about preserving the status quo. So it's not from the left, right? Maybe it's just from transcendental pill land. I
don't know. Let's keep going there, because I'm not at where I want to be yet. I knew this when she said that, because I knew that from the beginning. But because I saw that, you know, Vosh, the guy I was talking about, the guy who likes horse penis for some reason, he had Warren Farrell on his show like a few years ago, and I watched it, and I could tell like right off the beginning, Vosh's whole goal wasn't necessarily to like talk about men's issues. It was to basically say, Warren, why are you siding with Nazis and fascists? I mean, that was it. And Warren was like, I vote Democrat every year. Warren Farrell's very left, okay? And look at how he's treated by his people. So, I mean, it's fine. Like, I get it. I think Warren Farrell's a really sweet guy. But, you know, they're kind of proving the point. So, but anyway, let's keep going.
As if men are just pawns and tools for your...
Are
What?
are these people on the left because they want to embrace or liberalism? If they're on the more open-minded, shall we say, is it because they want to help people, they want to embrace new ideas, or is it because they want someone to hate?
I think it's partly the latter, but also not necessarily that they care about people, but that I think a lot of it just comes down to how they were educated. I think that it's like saying, why are people feminists? Well, it's because it's the only worldview they've been given. I think that if you go to public school, if you turn on your TV, if you watch the news, that's what you're going to get. And some people, and they get it, and also they don't have. A lot of these people are growing up in families without a father figure or a father, period. And so what do they get? They pick up women's ways of being, women's ways of learning, women's ways of, essentially organizing. And so they want a centrally planned world because they lived in a centrally planned home. I don't think that it's because they're hateful, but I think that there is a conditioning that's been going on longer than we've been alive that is sort of like has been coming. It's not recently come to fruition. It's probably been in the last 50 years, but it's definitely a thing that's been happening. So that's what I think it is, and I say this with all sympathy. Like, I have lefty friends. I don't hate them. I really don't. I hate the ideology. I don't hate the people. But I think that that's what it is. I don't think that they've considered human nature, because that's kind of what leftism requires for you to abandon human nature and see everything as socialization. And on the other hand, I think ANCAPs have the same problem because they think that people can be robots and that they don't have the ability to act in a way that doesn't go along with what ANCAPs want or what commies want. So I think it's a problem that hasn't been sufficiently analyzed. And the people who do the best work talking about it, guys like Thomas Sowell and Martin Friedman, I think his name, or Milton Friedman, and I forget his name, but he passed away recently, like a couple of years ago. They have known this, and they've been talking about this and beating the drum on this, but nobody wants to listen to them. They get silenced, and they're not brought on to any programs, and they're not given a platform, and so we never learn it. So yeah, I mean, that's a shame. I mean, my mother, she goes to church, she's conservative, super Christian, but she's a leftist. And I think it has to do with the fact that she's a woman. I think that's why I'm saying, this comes down to, more than anything, gender differences are as much a part of that, because it sort of frames their value system. And so, I say this again, with all due consideration to that, I think that leftism is inherently feminine, and rightism, I don't even think that's a word, is more masculine. I mean, not absolutes. I know there are men that are more this way and women that are more that way. Karen is a libertarian, for example, but and Hannah is too. But I think that's where the pendulum swings between it's along the lines of gender more than anything else.
Well, it certainly is now, but simply because the left has just gone full bore into man hatred. The thing I wanted to point out is that the left has a lot of pieties, and I think that attracts women. Piety. Yes.
Well, okay. It's because human beings have a religious nature. So why do you think, in the BLM protests there were white people washing the feet of black people? I mean, it's not, I'm sorry, but I don't think that atheism is enough to eliminate religiosity in human beings. I mean, James Lindsay's been doing a series of videos on that shows how wokeness, which
do you
is left.
Understand where that comes from, though? Jesus washing the feet.
Yeah, I know. I know that.
So,
I know. But I mean, well, it doesn't matter. It's about servitude, though. They're doing this as a service to blacks, right? They may get the allegory mixed up, but the point is they're engaging in ritualistic practice, and it doesn't matter what it's for, whether it's for God or Allah or the Bodhisattva or wokeness, Karl Marx, whatever. It's a thing about people. I mean, some people can be logical enough to not do that, but I think that the average normie person, you know. And the I think anyway, James Lindsay's trying to prove that it's wokeness is a cult, and they're actually the people who have wrote on this, like Marcuse and stuff. You can see where they get this kind of like, you know, ritualistic framing from. So, but that is a completely different rabbit hole that we don't have time for. So we should continue.
Personal politics. How do we make the left more appealing to men? How do we stop lonely men from moving to Andrew Tate? Instead of just, how do we help men? And I think that's a really big issue. Both sides seem to treat men as political fodder. Disposable soldiers in the culture war and real war. Anyway, Miss
I know she doesn't say it explicitly, but I think she's suggesting that the right is more prone to throw men into war-like situations to get them killed. And I don't think that's true. I mean, Trump started no wars in his time, and now we're doing this Ukraine thing. And men in Russia and Ukraine are all dying, and it's bad, period. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, at least when it comes to war, I think that in depending on the circumstances, something like this it might be necessary sometimes. And I think that men generally will step up. Not all of them, obviously, but some will, if they think the cause is just. The problem is that it's too easy to exploit men's desire to protect women for the purposes of war. But that's not, even in that case, as awful as that is, men suffering at home, or, you know, where they feel like the enemy is like their own society, I think that's probably a more serious problem.
Well, it's a more serious problem for the society. I mean, like,
yeah.
I don't want to really downplay what the shit that men went through the world wars.
Yeah, sure, I know. Again, and I know a lot of that did not have to happen. Like,
also, like, they were expected. For example, in World War One, the soldiers that went were expected to come back and just resume their lives without bothering anyone about it.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. Like the kind of shit that women were saying to men. Not all women, but like that, even that any woman would feel entitled to pontificate about a man's manhood after he went through that shit is astounding to me. Mm-hmm. That she would feel like she had the right to opine on it. But regardless, this is something that our society, I think, has been dealing with for a while. It's really come to a head. Yeah. Because now it's impeding our future. Like, this is what happens. Sure. Every civilization just pushes away its shadow side until it gets consumed by it. And sometimes it isn't necessarily that we're 100% going to fall. Sometimes there's a civilization that pushes and pushes away its shadow self, and then for whatever reason suddenly realizes or suddenly embraces it, and then they have another 1,000 years. You know, and if you want to know what the civilization's shadow self is, you got to look at whatever it pushes away most, the hardest. Yeah, that's the shadow, and if it's going to survive another 1,000 years, it's got to wake up and embrace it.
Okay. Let's go with this.
Misandry is real. Oh, good. Finally. And while it doesn't systemically affect cis men, it most certainly affects trans men.
So, this may have gotten cut off, but the person said, anyway, misandry is real, and while it doesn't systemically affect cis men, it most certainly affects trans men. Misandry exists, women most affected. The only people that can be affected by misandry, which is the hatred of men, are men who used to be women. Oh yeah, that is great. At least the word is getting use, right? At least the word is getting used.
Oh, y'all talking about misandry doesn't harm men, and trans men are right there reading this shit, by the way. I see, now we only care about misandry because it affects trans men. Everyone stop! It's affecting a group I care about now. I love how the rhetoric just like evolved overnight from male tears to cis male tears, and I just have to ask, why aren't you including trans men in your misandry,
Well, that's
Oh.
transphobia. This is the video of the trans man that's feeling really lonely because I think he
I'm actually
expected.
really liking this video by Shoe. No offense, but she's hitting the pot.
Well,
she's hitting the softies.
She's in those circles. I mean, like, yeah, this has been. I mean, I knew all this anyway. I knew it, but she's putting it out there, and I have to commend her for that. So here's the. This is a trans man on TikTok.
Nobody told me how lonely being a man is. We knew what depth felt like before we transitioned. We knew what it felt like to like have people want to hug us and to have people want to talk to us and to have a community. And then you transition and you're just a guy walking down the street that people cross the street so that they're not near you. And friendships are so much harder to build.
Well,
What?
yes, because feminists say that men are bad in groups.
And he passes pretty well. He looks like the guy from Breaking Bad. I mean,
Yeah, you would never really know. Like,
yeah.
I'm sure that the average woman would be happy to avoid him completely out of fear. Congratulations! I hope that becoming a man.
I hope you didn't do that hoping to cash in on that male privilege. Because should have read some Nora Vincent.
I hope that becoming a man satisfies you emotionally to the point where losing all of the privilege that you will now be highly aware that you had as a woman doesn't, it's irrelevant. But okay. But the other thing is that, yes, he passes as a man, but how much is he hormonally like the average man?
I think that's why this is so upsetting for him, because I think the average man will deal with the same thing, but they'll probably be better equipped to deal with it. It doesn't mean that it's less bad. But
Okay. And this is why I talk about the fact that we are woefully, like, we are so primitive when it comes to understanding men's psychology as its own thing. Perfect. Like, we have like a bunch of leech peddlers in the the American Association for Psychology, that basically is turning masculinity into a mental illness. Like, they're pretty much flat out saying that at this point. And I called it, by the way, as soon as I saw that APA guidelines on men and masculinity. They were inching towards calling it a mental illness. So
of
men
course.
aren't.
Good. Being a male is a mental illness. Great. Okay, cool. Well,
Yeah.
let's see where this goes.
Well, they're
boy.
basically doing that now. Now, when I saw that, I'm like, they don't recognize that men have a psychology separate from the feminine that is perfectly valid. And so we have absolutely no understanding of it in a real sense, except for some like side psychology. Like, I don't know what these psychologists are doing. I guess they're just sort of creeping around the basement of the psychological building doing actual science and ducking the wokies. So we do have a bit of scholarship on actual masculine psychology, not enough. So we don't know the function, the psychological function. Like, you could have, you remember that cute little like video of the boys digging a gigantic hole? Right? And then what happened is that there was a boy digging a hole, and then another boy joined him, completely silently started to help him dig this hole. Then a whole bunch of boys and then you got teenage boys and men coming and they're excavating this hole. And silence, but they're all digging this hole in the beach, and it's like huge. It's becoming a hazard. And I say that only because it's humorous. And all with, like maybe some conversation, but mostly quiet. And they're all happily engaged in this activity. Is that not a form of being social and bonding, but without saying anything? It's like they come together, they do something together, and they gain a sense of a shared purpose, a sense of a community action, a sense of camaraderie, a sense of brotherhood from that shared activity. Does this man, who, no matter what happens, will not have a normal male hormonal system, right? Does he understand that when he walks past a hole that a bunch of other guys are digging, that you need to stop and start digging with them, and then enjoy whatever pro-social fodder is being shared, psychological is being shared among the men in order to get his fill of human companionship.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we don't know what function that does because nobody studies it because men isn't valid. Masculinity. It could be that men are getting plenty from that. And part of the problem is that we don't give them enough opportunities to engage in the kind of pro-social friendship that they engage in because it doesn't look like women's friendships, right? This guy may never really understand that. May never really come to the point because he doesn't even like this. They're pushing these former women into becoming something they have absolutely no clue anything about it. I mean, maybe at some point when he identified as she, the psychiatrist or psychologist who had this scholarship around masculinity, could have explained this to him and then made his transition less painful. Either maybe he wouldn't have understood it, or maybe he would understand it and try to develop the skills to accommodate that way that men relate to each other. Instead, they just shove him through this irreversible hormonal process completely blind to male psychology. You know, and that's okay, well, let's see how that, obviously that's not really working out for this individual. And I'm not even going to talk about the transition being the problem. I'm going to talk about the absolute ignorance being the problem. The absolute ignorance of masculinity and how men conduct themselves socially, and the absolute void in psychology on these topics. That is what caused this.
All right, let's play a little more, and I think we're almost done here. So
what's hard is none of this invalidates how real and raw women and people who are in marginalized groups feel about cis white men. All of that's valid, but I also now understand why the suicide rate is so much higher in men.
Welcome to being a man. Here's your complimentary isolation and yellow pillow. I love how even when he's experiencing the issues of being a man, he's like, this doesn't invalidate people hating men. Come on, bro. Men struggling don't want to be lectured about the patriarchy.
Yeah, it's funny that he's acknowledged his loneliness and all of that, but he still has to bend the knee and be like, well, this doesn't invalidate women's experience, guys.
Well, he doesn't want to be completely ostracized from any relationship
Right.
he does have.
Yes, exactly. So
honest here.
that's what I'm saying. He has to bend the knee. He has to.
The moment he says, you know what, guys, I think this is bad. Maybe you should consider what you're doing to men, particularly since the number of men who are a criminal is very low. They don't represent all men, and there are also criminal women that are much higher in number than you're allowing. No, none of that. No, we got to maintain the oppression narrative. Like I said, everything comes down to that. Which side do you stand on? Do you believe that men oppressed women now and historically at any time period, or are you willing to recognize that has never been proven to be true? Never. It is always a reading of history that excludes the obligations placed on men with women's limitations. And actually the predominant relationship, what characterizes the predominant relationship by men towards women is care and provision, not oppression. Okay? If you're willing to cross that Rubicon, then you are part of what can potentially, the shadow, I guess, recognize the shadow and moving forward into an actual future. If you can't, well, this is the world that idea built.
Yeah. All right.
This is the world.
We're at the end. So let me just finish it. Let's finish it.
They don't want to be told it's all their fault. They don't want to be told they're part of the problem because, first of all, they're not. The average 20-year-old didn't build society. They go to work, come home, off to sissy hypno fetish porn, and go to bed like everyone else. I've talked about this before, but a lot of men's value comes from the money they make, unfortunately. Men are natural.
That's not true. A lot of men's value does not come from the money they make. It comes from women's approval. Money is a means to get that approval.
I think that's what I mean. I think this is
No,
just like
she said money they make. I think that this is like another. I mean, we'll see. I'm just saying, like, that's it.
Well, maybe
That's
this
that
is
may
the
okay.
moment
Let me put it this way. It's left out, but I think it's a crucial detail.
okay,
So if
but
you,
let's see
because
where
like men don't just want to acquire stuff.
yeah, their value, but I think the implication, I could be wrong, is that their value to women or to society is the money they make.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
providers, and if they have nobody to provide for, they get into findom or send random girls on the internet money. I'm just kidding, but the fact is, a lot of men simply feel like they don't have a purpose anymore. Whether a job or a career that's fulfilling and pays well, or a woman or family to protect and take care of and
Or both.
provide for, men are lacking purpose. And a man will crawl through broken glass for a purpose. But you know who
Okay,
does
that's what
make
you
them
said,
feel like
Brian.
they have a
What?
This is what you're saying. Men lack
Yeah,
purpose.
men need a higher calling. They need a
And
purpose.
ironically, what they need is people to recognize that they are already building the world that we enjoy.
Yes, and all we have to do is say thank you. And I think,
Yep.
like, that's it. We just have to recognize it, and because like women, they have no idea how powerful they are in motivating or demotivating men, and because they've been told that what they do doesn't matter, so they don't do anything, and men still push forward anyway, hoping that women will acknowledge them, kind of like the Kens, right? They just want her approval. And yeah, so anyway, she said, so you know who does give men purpose, I think is what she was about to propose. So let's see.
a purpose? No, not him.
I say that life as a man is exceptionally difficult.
Wait, why not him? Why not?
She's saying,
No, I know it's because she's an atheist, but like, if men go
Well,
to,
maybe it's-
would it be better to go to Christ or go to Andrew Tate? I mean, I'm just saying, like, what you're saying that these are the choices, but you're actually kind of eliminating one of those choices.
no, I actually wonder if she's not making a comedic juxtaposition to poke fun at atheists. Because you're like, well, she did go to Jesus. I mean, even if you look at Jesus' story in a secular lens, it's very powerful. It's very moving.
Yeah.
And it's calling people to become better and to recognize the importance of staying true to yourself and the importance of recognizing your own moral code above anything else. Like, and I mean, people forget that Jesus was a rabble rouser.
Yes, he was.
He was somebody outside the system, and he was a very caring person, very compassionate, but very disagreeable. And he had as far as I can tell from the story, he had his flaws.
He was probably
that-
the Andrew Tate of his time.
Well,
No, I'm kidding. I'm not even gonna try to compare. No.
Okay, but he had his flaws, and Satan tempted him, and he overcame them, and then
Yeah.
he overcame the hatred of others. He did not allow it to change his decisions about himself and the world. I mean, that's an incredibly powerful, heroic narrative, and you could do worse, even if you don't include what I would consider the more pagan aspects of Christianity. It's still a really powerful story, and it's a very good model for being a good person, and not just a good person, but being a good person in a world that wants you to be a bad person.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was just, I think that I'd like to know what she would really think, like, because if a man is said that it's bad if he goes to Andrew Tate, but the left offers nothing but vitriol, and so the man instead goes to Christ, right? Goes to church, whatever, becomes a Christian. Like, is that bad then? Because I feel like, I mean, I don't think it's wrong to be a fan of Tate. Like, I know that a lot of people don't like him. What I mean by that is I wouldn't do it. I think that he's cringe in a lot of ways, but there's a lot of men that are going there because there's nothing else on offer. So like, should
think
I
one
just
of the
tell
ways-
everybody to go to Jesus then?
Could I think one of the ways that the whole culture around the story of Jesus could be improved is by simply recognizing that Jesus could only be a man.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I don't know. I
The
guess
same way that Mother Mary can only be a woman.
Yeah.
Jesus could only have been a man.
Yeah.
And really understand that, and I think that would probably remove maybe some of the anti-male messaging around the pagan aspects of that particular culture. I'm not going to go any further because I'm probably going to insult people. But anyway, let's go.
All right,
maybe
let's
finish-
keep going. We're almost done here.
I say
Literally
the most
1
beautiful
minute.
and the most terrifying thing about being a man is you're born without value. Society doesn't care about you.
The absolute audacity to act shocked that Andrew Tate is scooping these guys up after a decade of lol male tears is insane. Andrew Tate isn't the solution to men's problems, but he is talking to them. The fact is, you did not care about them for years, and even now you just want to recruit them, not help them. And that's why you will fail. And hey, maybe I'll be the Andrew Tate of the left. Men, listen up. Wash your penis. So I guess I'll leave you guys with a question. Why do you think male loneliness has been increasing? What are your solutions for this problem? And are you dealing with loneliness? And I will see you guys next time with a new video.
Okay.
Okay, that was amusing.
Yeah.
Honestly, an Andrew Tate of the left, I think that such a person might actually embrace the masculine aspects of the left if we were to look at them. Like, the masculine aspects of the left is innovation, creating something new, opening up human expression into what is possible, and finding out like new avenues of exploration. So if you look at the right as being more conservative, more about keeping things together, and men have a huge portion of that because they want to protect and provide for their families and their societies. But there's also that masculine urge to get out and find the new, right? And that could be seen as the masculine side of the liberal or the left paradigm. That might be what the left Andrew Tate looks like. Actually innovating that new form of meritocracy that incorporates all the technological pressures and all of the other crap that we're dealing with. Anyway, that's what I have to say.
Okay.
I thought that was not bad,
Yeah, it's not bad. This is what I would add, and this is, look, don't take this as a criticism against Shoe, but I'm putting this in a broader context as well. So we didn't get into this today because I didn't have time, but briefly, you guys know Rollo Tomasi, right? So Rollo has, yes, because he's blocked you on Twitter. Rollo has found himself in a bit of a tight spot because he has been successfully trolled by Lauren Southern and Brittany Venti. Brittany Venti, I've never had her on the show or anything. She's just kind of like an internet troll that likes to essentially like take everyone down a peg every so often. And what they did was, in short, Rollo and Lauren Southern, or no, not Rollo, Lauren Southern and Brittany Venti tricked Rollo into thinking that they were, somebody they were not through emails, and essentially infiltrated his space and like got him to believe a bunch of lies about Lauren Southern. And then he went on his streams and he dished on them, or on Lauren Southern rather, because he upset Brittany Venti, and she's a pretty vengeful person. Anyway, point is, completely annihilated his credibility, in my opinion. I never cared for Rollo. I think he's kind of full of shit, but I don't talk about him on here because I don't think that's important. But because he is a prominent member in the manosphere, like it or not, one of the things that I think came out of this is that Brittany Venti made a whole video about it and showed that she had, that her and Lauren Southern were working together to do this. And Lindsay and I thought it was hilarious because it was nice to see Rollo get taken down a peg and sort of humbled, because his ego is kind of like, I mean, it's bigger than Tate's, and that's saying something, right? But Brittany Venti used that experience, that video, to make a point about the manosphere in general and said the manosphere, this is proof that the manosphere is just the feminist for men, right? Basically. The red pill is feminist for men. And there was nothing else said about it. And the reason why this pisses me off is I don't care that she did that to Rollo, but here's the thing though. If you're gonna like discredit or criticize or tear down something, and you because you think that it's bad, but you don't know that there are people in the same space doing good because the whole thing is a mixed bag, and you don't, or you do know, like Lauren Southern knows about us, but you don't make a point to say, well, here are people doing good work, but instead you're just silent on the whole thing. You say, well, the red pill's bad because, you know, here's Rollo Tomasi, like the biggest voice or whatever, and he's just like them, right? This is exactly what the media does with Tate. The purpose of it is to discredit the entire manosphere. This is why I don't go along with the let's all hate this guy thing, because it hurts us because we're associated with them. And us making the distinction doesn't really help. But I think what would have been, and I'm not, okay, this is not, I'm not mad at anybody, but this is, what I say is, what I think would have been nice is if Venti, Southern, and Shoe said, here are some people that I like that are talking about men's issues, that actually care about men, and they're not just trying to sell their book or whatever. And none of that has happened. So I feel like all it does is it hurts us because, you know, we are, whether we like it or not, we're associated with the manosphere, right? With the red pill space, whether we like it or not. And so it's, I mean, I'm glad that we had so many people show up, but you see what I mean? Like, there's a little bit of collateral damage from that. And and in a way, I wish Shoe had said, because she spoke to you, so it would have been nice if she would have said, you know, I know these people, the Honey Badgers, are doing good work. You know,
well, you know, it's not necessarily her fight, but it would have been nice. Yes, it would have been very nice.
Yeah.
But can I just, although she did, you know, dunk a little on Pearl, and you're going to be talking to her, so, you know, I don't really want to get into this. I mean, I just do my thing. I set my, you know, I make my decision that what I am going to stand for, and as you all probably know.
No, it's okay. Yeah,
I'll let the chips fall where they may. It is really annoying a little bit. Well, you know, I'll say a little annoying to be lumped in the same pot with a man who blocked you.
Yeah.
Like, geez, I'm pretty sure that I got blocked by Rollo well before either you two ladies. And I didn't have to do much at all. I just had to be like, well, you said this, but then you said this, and this seems to be contradictory, and it's like blocked.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. I just had to do a little tism, and then he was like, no, I don't want to deal with you. So, but to be lumped in with that, and also, what is it they're calling him out for? His gigantic ego, his personal...
No, I don't, you know, it's a long story, but, like, he deserves it. I'll just put it that way. Like, Rollo absolutely deserves it. Yeah, like, he needed to get knocked out a peg. His ego is unbelievable, but it was also other things. Like, they basically, like, manipulated him, because, you know, women, they're good at that, into, essentially like outing himself as like you know, really gossipy and all that. And so and of course he like doubled down on stuff, and he lied to his audience a little bit, exaggerated things, and Venti appeared to have proved it. But like the point is this though, like I don't really care about any of that stuff, you know, and I'm not going to bat for Rollo or Tate. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that I don't want to participate in the purity testing that often I see. Instead, I'm just saying, look, I know people that take this content seriously, that are doing a good job, and I'm not just talking about us, and I can point you to those people. That's all. And so, like, I think that if you're gonna tear down something, but you know that it's not all cancer, then you can probably tell people, well, okay, here are some places that aren't so bad, or that I think are good, or whatever, right? And I don't want them getting lumped in with these people. That's all. And again, it's not a big deal. I don't care if you do it or not, but, you know, it's just, I don't know. It's not what I would have done, I guess. So that's all. I got a super chow. Oh yeah, I got a. Oh, not a super chow. I'm sorry. A Rumble rant from NobaFan21. He says, "Is there a TV/comic /etc. male character version of a leftist man the feminists and lefties point to as a man who advocates for their values as perfectly as possible?" I don't know. I haven't looked into it. Maybe Green Arrow. I don't know. I don't. I'm sorry. I don't know. I haven't looked into it. I don't really think about that much because I don't think it's necessary for men to be put in some kind of box. So Albert Nader Retro gives us $5 Canadian and says, "Anybody affiliated with Fresh and Fit are posers and snake oil salesmen cashing in on fatherlessness." Again, I don't fuck with Fresh and Fit, so that's fine. I don't think like I said, I don't think they really represent us, but it doesn't matter because the media does.
What is the Fresh and Fit?
It's like a podcast, like a dating podcast thing, I think. You know?
Yeah.
They just kind of they bring on thoughts and then they talk to them about stuff. I don't really, like I said, I don't watch them. I don't know. I don't find it interesting. Sometimes I'll get a clip from like the whatever podcast and I'll watch that if it's funny, but that's about it. So, anyway, that is everything. So, do you have any thank yous to give out?
Just thank you. I think we already thanked Great Indoors for putting $100 in my book, in the editing of my book.
Okay.
You're talking about people who weren't just selling their book.
All right, then keep your secrets.
All right.
All right. Oh, Great Indoors. And if you would like to help me out in the next stage of editing The Captive Eye, please go to feedthebadger.com/I. I really appreciate it, any help, because it is a long process and somewhat expensive that publishing houses used to do on promising manuscripts, but they don't do that anymore. They just want diversity. They maybe polish up the first 3 chapters. They don't give a crap about the rest, and predictably, nobody wants to buy anything anymore.
Yeah. I think it's like everybody who used to write Tumblr blogs is now like writing professionally. So
I would not recommend
Tumblr fan fiction. They're all trying to make the new 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, they're all trying to make the new 50 Shades of Grey. It's all dystopian. It's all really anti-male.
I bet.
Well, not all of it. There's occasionally the book that is just like uncritically or unselfconsciously anti-male. You know, they have the usual male bully and the male father that beats his kids and other crap like that. But that's just fantasy, like baseline, right? I'm talking about the stuff that's like, oh yeah, men, all they do is oppress us. I'm part of a Chinese town and we're suffering famine under the Mongols and all the women are dead because none of the men would feed them. I'm like, wow, that's really that really is that's a strategy that's really gonna work for you in the next generation. It's like that's basically the let's kill ourselves off strategy. Brilliant. Anyway, so that's the stuff that I'm seeing out there in science fiction and fantasy. Truly horrifying. And if you want to help me create something that isn't that, which doesn't even have the baseline anti-maleness of the average fantasy novel, please go to feedthebadger.com/I, that's EYE, and put some shekels in the hat for my next editing adventure, which will be either a line editing or another developmental edit pass. So there you go. Also, if you want to send us a message after this show is over, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. You can send us a tip because you enjoy the content, or you have something that you want us to address, or you want to make sure that our show keeps going. We are now officially 10 years on the air as of this August. Woohoo! So if you want us to have another 10 years, hopefully going into obsolescence at some point in that time, you know, once everybody's happily married in whatever arrangement they like with whatever flavor of gender they prefer, that would be great. Then we can hang up our shingle. But until then, please help us out. You can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Be sure to put your message in at the checkout stage It's not at the invoice stage or when you get the final.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's what the person at the beginning was having trouble with and talking to me in the customer service channel of our Discord.
Yeah.
That's the issue he was having. So anyway, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. You can send us a message. You can send us the funds we need to keep going with this message that either you let go of seeing men as oppressors of women, or you enjoy the society that relationship, that defining the most essential relationship in our society as that creates. Okay? And yeah. feedthebadger.com/justthetip. All right, back to you, Brian.
All right, I got one more super chat, and then we're gonna wrap it up. So, Dean Domino gives us $4.99. Thank you, Dean Domino. Really appreciate it. Not really a fan of Venti. When I heard her speak on a stream, she talked like someone who frequently went on or read a lot of r/female dating strategy. I don't think she's someone you can trust to say anything she really believes. But you might be right. But she is a troll professionally. She's always fucking with people. So it's one of those things, I don't think you can really trust anything she says completely. So, I mean, I even take that into consideration with her video about the manosphere. But we'll see. So, I'm not all that concerned. I'm just saying, like, if you really want to be a part of the solution, it would be nice to direct people in the right direction. All right. Well, anyway, we're going to wrap it up here. I want to thank you guys so much for coming on today's show. I'm gonna do more Broforce Forever with Lindsay after this is over, so maybe join us over on Honey Badger Arcade. Broforce is a lot of fun, and it gives you a big shot of masculine toxicity that maybe we all need a little bit from time to time. So hang out with us over there, Honey Badger Arcade. Just look it up on YouTube. There's a link in the description. All right. So with that said, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about today's show. And please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of Maintaining Frame, and we'll talk to you all in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.